Hello, Canadian Premier League fans. Mike Beal here from Righand Craft Distillery. I've been asked to create Hello, Canadian Premier League fans. Mike Beal here from Righand Craft Distillery. I've been asked to create a signature cocktail for Cavalry FC and also FC Edmonton. So today I'm going to mix up a couple of cocktails for you guys, and hopefully you can enjoy them throughout the season during the games. So we're going to start out with the Cavalry FC drink first. It's going to be the Righand Raspberry Vodka. I'm going to call it the Cavalry Charge. So we're going to take our cup here. We're going to start off with 2 or 3 raspberries, and we're just going to muddle them or crush them up in the bottom of the cup here, just to muddle them up. I'm just going to use a fork here. We're going to keep it nice and simple. Scrunch them up a little bit. We're going to throw some ice in here now. Basically, we're going to put 1 ounce of raspberry vodka from Righand. And then what I like to do is I like to take a mint leaf and give it a nice little smack. Chuck that in there. And then we're going to add 2 parts cranberry cocktail and or cranberry juice, depending on how sweet you like your cocktail. We're then gonna garnish it, give it a little stir, and give it a garnish of a raspberry on top, and another little sprig of mint. And you've got your Cavalry Charge all ready to go there. Here we go. So for FC Edmonton, I came up with another cocktail, again, using the Righand Blueberry Vodka this time. And we're going to call this one the Black and Blue. So it's very similar. We're going to take, instead of raspberries, we're going to take a blackberry or 2, and we're going to throw them in the bottom of our cup. We're going to muddle them up a little bit, so crush them up. We're going to add a little bit of ice to it. And we're going to take our blueberry vodka. We're going to do 1 ounce of blueberry vodka. Give it a little bit of a stir. And then with this, we're going to top it off with limeade. And then we're going to garnish it with a couple of blueberries on the top. And there you got it, your Black and Blue. 2 signature cocktails for FC Edmonton and Cavalry Cavalry FC. Cheers, enjoy.
Brown inside, Camargo. Camargo back to Brown. He has a shot, but that is blocked. Another opportunity, and that's in.
It ricocheted off an Edmonton defender and went through. Was another attempt to block, but this time didn't get all of it.
Cavs have drawn first blood in El Clasico. Jordan Brown. Break, a shot, Carducci just gets a palm on it.
There's the first big chance for the Eddies there.
The throw. Headed it away, but not entirely. Back into the box. Here's the strike. Another save from Carducci.
Once again, right back. High searching ball, headed back into the box. Chance from distance from Marcel, and that was a great strike, but tracked all the way by Carducci and cleared. A nice diving header from the skipper Trafford, and that starts off a Cavs rush. Malonga in for Camargo, and there it is! The Eddies had all the momentum in the first half, but the Cavs were just waiting in the wing for their opportunity. But it falls out with plenty of time for Adekugbe. Trafford with a little header. Jordan Brown, the substitute, and there's Camargo for the brace. Cavs looking to make it 3-0. Once again, ball played in for Brown. Pasquati running in, and Pasquati finishing it off. And the wheels are off for FC Edmonton. The Alberta Derby, what some pundits have suggested may be a potential CPL title matchup, pits the top two clubs in the country against each other. Our first real threatening chance of the game belongs to the home side. A fantastic move and an even better save. Oliver Minitel dancing around along the left side, challenging Connor James, but he was up to the task. Let's turn it over the top of the 18. A shot from distance, and they put it off the bar. Another opportunity in front. And a second chance, the volley, not a whole lot behind it. The foot soldiers erupt behind the Cavalry net. Happy with their keeper, but they can't like what they just saw on defense. It's a throw-in from Nico Pasquati. High ball, James parries it away. A shot and a fantastic save from James. He gets a ton of power behind this volley. James punches it clear, has to battle through his own teammates, and then the left-footed volley from Waterman struck well. Unfortunately, he put...
Nathan Mavilla with the long throw, finds Oliver Minitel, plays that straight across. Cavalry threatening here early. Escalante with the head, and Connor James with the early save, overlapping. Zebi plays it across. Scungaro right there on the far post. Giansopoulos comes down with it, his fourth start of this CAD-PL season. A lot of size in this FC Edmonton team. There's Ungaro, a chance. So it's Trafford. Escalante bends that to the far post. Diuk. One-on-one with Zator. Cuts inside. Diuk just couldn't get the bend on that for Cavalry to take advantage. It's Nik Ledgerwood. He scored a penalty against Valor going to his right. This time goes to the left. The captain of Cavalry makes it 1-0 here in the 27th minute. The Ledgerwood legend continues to be written. Break, flag stays down, Ameobi, Tomi Ameobi, stop, Giansopoulos, a giant save on Tomi Ameobi, was in all alone. Diuk just takes, Giansopoulos, another stop from Spider-Man. Malonga, wide open, tip save, James. Second half stoppage time. Ball just bounced on him a little bit, still put it on target. Malonga straight through. It's Dominic Malonga in all alone. James, what a stop. Uses his head, literally. Cavalry defeats FC Edmonton 1-0. Nik Ledgerwood gets the goal on a 27th minute penalty. It wasn't a classic El Clasico, a workmanlike effort as Cavalry.
On the set piece, though, Cavalry just flood numbers forward, and they just really want to get all people in there. There's hardly anyone back.
There's Pasquati, and that one stopped by Ilan Paulus. He used to be a part of the Whitecaps Academy. That was a big one, and it got them through to the semifinals against the Impact. Here's FC Edmonton. Good look on the right side. Now here's Sun. Chip back. This will be Cabra. Dancing in, plays it over. Ungaro couldn't get the look he wanted, but a decent opportunity.
And again, not to get too esoteric or give anyone homework after a game, read the book Universality. It's a Tommy Wheeldon talking about it, the Bible for him.
Camargo, a good run. He's taken down, play continues, and that's Malongo with it. Now back for Zator, back into the box. Camargo on his left foot in traffic, and a right-footed attempt over the mark.
You need that goal.
Interestingly, does Edmonton start to take more chances to try to secure third with York Mills? Here's Pasquati on the right.
Well,
High cross, and kept in on the backside. And lovely, Camargo, what a finish with the right foot.
There you go, back to back.
Sneaks it in. And he'll stand up and salute the crowd.
And the pressure pays off after all the time, 75 minutes. And there it goes, how quickly it can happen. But that's 70 minutes of pressure paying off the idea that ball was going to touch. And I think that's how Camargo got the free advantage.
Jordan Brown, yes! Did it get in? Off the crossbar and down, but did it cross the line?
I think
yes, it did!
They're giving the goal. They've given the goal.
What a powerful strike from Jordan Brown, crossbar. The other corner we saw was the same setup. Soft boot, a header, and that one's in. First goal of the season for FC Edmonton against Cavalry FC.
And that's number 10 for Easton Ongaro. So they do break the duck.
Sensational fall season continues. Ongaro, double digits. The U of A product finished it off, and look at the lovely setup.
And there we go, from about 10 feet.
Only 2 more weeks to determine the CPL champion in this inaugural season. And there's the whistle. The dream season continues for Tommy Wheeldon Jr.'s Cavalry FC.
Hello, soccer fans. Hello, CanPL fans, and hello to FC Edmonton and Cavalry supporters and soccer supporters across Alberta and across Canada. Welcome to the Classico Pub Night, a virtual pub night. We'd rather both teams be playing each other on the field, that is FC Edmonton and Cavalry FC. We'd rather be seeing the action either at Spruce Meadows or at Clark Stadium, but as we're getting through COVID-19 and the quarantines and the isolations that we have had to do, we are going to celebrate this rivalry online tonight with a little discussion, some lively fun, discussion with the coaches, And we're just happy to have you along and happy to have you be part of what should be a very, very special evening here, with all of us calling in from our various homes and chatting a little football, chatting some soccer, and celebrating the Canadian Premier League and celebrating Canadian soccer. Tonight, we'd like to thank Rig Hand in Edmonton and Big Rock, Calgary, for their distilled products and brewed products that are helping fuel this evening. And as well, before we start into the soccer chat, we will, we'd be remiss not to acknowledge what's happening in the world right now. And we're fully aware that the CanPL is a league that is still very, very young. And we are entering our second season and hopefully kicking off soon and playing games again soon. But the motto of this league is "We are many and we are one," and diversity is very, very important to both clubs and to all clubs in CanPL, not just FC Edmonton and Cavalry. But the opportunities, the equity of opportunities is very, very important. And it's been a very, very difficult year, a very, very trying year, 2020, obviously with COVID-19, a lot of economic uncertainty. We know a lot of people probably viewing aren't really sure about their jobs right now. And we're fully sympathetic to that. And as well, obviously now what's become a global discussion about racial equality, about discrimination, is really, really important. And one of the things that I've always loved about the game of soccer in my time, and is that it brings people together. It's a global game, and because it's a global game, it's a diverse game, and you will see people, players from all sorts of different backgrounds, working together as a team on the pitch. And I think that's an important message that carries. And I think that's part of the social contract of being a football fan, is the embracing of diversity and the embracing of opportunities for all. So again, I think for both FC Edmonton and Cavalry and the league itself, from the players, the coaches, everyone involved in management, the motto, "We are many, we are one," is really, really important going forward. Again, I'm Steven Sandor. We're here to chat football. You might recognize my voice from some One Soccer broadcasts from previous or even previous seasons as FC Edmonton's colored person back in the days of the NASL. I'm also the editor of Avenue Magazine in Edmonton and a writer of more than a few books and a columnist for canpl.ca. And I'm hoping that a lot of that stuff gets back together soon. So we're going to be ready to bring in our coaches really, really soon here. So why don't we bring them in? And first, I'd like to introduce from, I guess, the red corner, the author of the 90 Minutes of Hell that we referred to many times last year, the man of Spruce Meadows, Tommy Wheeldon Jr.
Hey, Steven. Thanks for having us in.
Oh, it's great to see you. Great to see you. And I think I'm getting the little bit of Tommy Wheeldon hair happening right now. It's hasn't been this long since probably in my late 20s. So maybe I'll look to you for some styling tips afterwards.
Listen, it's a cost-saving thing, as many people are looking about through this COVID. It's you don't need to see the barbers as much as you thought. So just grow it out and just go with it.
And now that we've talked about growing out our hair, that gives us a great segue to introducing from the blue corner, someone who does not have these hair problems, the coach of FC Edmonton, Jeff Paulus.
Hello, Steven, Tommy. How are you guys? I'm working on the Tommy hair as well, as you can see. So
yeah,
that is a glorious beard, though.
No, I trimmed it. Yeah, I did trim it. It was getting, it was getting unruly. So, yeah, it was getting caught in my zipper.
Yeah, it's the. And we know Jeff from I think the CanPL scowl photo that was used I don't know how many times on the website last year as the Jeff Paulus recommended artwork.
I don't get it. Any photo they could have taken, they keep going with that. So whatever. That's how they feel about me, I guess.
Now it's great to see you both. Obviously, I'd rather see you on the touchlines, barking orders to your team and talking about your lineups and your strategies. But we're going to talk a little bit about this rivalry that has emerged through CanPL, and it's a very, very special one. And I have to say, as someone who's wanted to see Canadian League for a long time, to see the Calgary and Edmonton playing against each other. It was very, very special last year, both at Spruce Meadows and at Clark. And it's very, very special for Alberta soccer as well. And I guess that gets to that first question. There's a rivalry there. Obviously, both of you want to get the better of each other, but it's not like you're throwing pizza at each other in the hallways either. You're not enemies off the pitch. You're gentlemen with each other off the pitch, and a lot of the players play with each other in a different Alberta soccer provincial teams, different tournaments with or against each other, and now you even got brothers each who are going to line up against each other potentially in the Zebbies. So what's that like? We kind of talk about it. Is it a frenemy situation between the two of you?
Yeah, definitely. Listen, we have a ton of respect for what's gone up north. It's FC Edmonton's 10th year, and the Fath family and Jeff and before that Colin Miller and all the work that's gone in. That's kind of been holding aloft the professional game in Alberta for us. So we'd be remiss in saying that this is a new thing. We've admiration for what they've done. And in fairness to Jeff, when I was at Foothills and we were trying to grow, the PDL and the U23, they'd send down academy side and put in a few first team players as well. And we always had some healthy matches. And as we were on the midst of getting to the professional status or taking that next step, the Canadian Premier League came together. So we almost allotted. So with that, rivalries, you need them. They're very, very healthy. It's in the youth soccer game in Alberta that I've been in for many years here. North against South, the big games, no matter whether it's the girls playing, the boys playing it, whether it's the universities playing it. And we see it in the hockey. Now we've got it in the professional game. And it is. I tell you, from prior to the games, we're good. We're good friends. We coordinate with each other. We talk with each other. There's a lot of respect with each other. And then for 90 minutes of hell, we're the best of frenemies, and all bets are off. But it's great to have that up the road, because like Pepsi and Coke, isn't it? You need each other to really drive the game forward, and the crisscross of these players now going back and forth actually adds to that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly. The jump on that. And I think when you look at the relationship, certainly with Tommy and I, and where we came from and what we've done, we're two people that have tried to help grow the game, in Canada at the grassroots level up to the youth level and club soccer and whatnot, and trying to develop players for our country. And so we both come from the same place. We've had many talks prior to professional football about player development. There was always a respect, obviously, for what Foothills has done when Tommy was at Foothills, running their program and just developing, just going on a path on his own, really, and refusing to be held back and refusing to let people tell him what was right or not right when it comes to player development. So our friendship goes back to, to a mutual respect of doing what's right for the game of football. As we get into this, of course, obviously we wish we would have been able to take more points than one, which would help drive the rivalry probably a bit higher. And, but at the end of the day, for that 90 minutes, we want to beat each other. We're both competitive. I think we both scowled each other at the odd time on a game. And I know every time Escalante got into a challenge with my players, I'm sure I looked at his bench. He looked at me and winked and smiled. So there you go. But it's I think what we have is unique in Canadian football. This rivalry of ours.
And of course, there's a bigger discussion maybe about soccer in Alberta, and for the people watching in this province, but also for the people watching outside of it. I think there's always a feeling that maybe Alberta, at least within this province, maybe doesn't get maybe some of the credit that's due for what it does on a national scene. But together, I know both of you are very, very passionate about soccer in this province. And again, with so many of your players who've represented the province in some way in the past, how important is that to kind of put Alberta soccer on the map?
Yeah, I think it's massive. For the longest time, we wanted to make sure that Alberta's soccer was a hotbed of talent, and you see the type of players that are going now. And you look really in the past, Owen Hargreaves and now Alphonso Davies are playing for a world-class club in Bayern Munich. They came from Alberta, and now you look beyond that. Shamit Shom and Joe Waterman now playing at Montreal Impact. And you keep laying it down. Nik Ledgerwood, who's going to join us as well, he's a very proud Albertan that's part of it. And there's lots and lots of players from Sam Adekugbe and Chai Trafford, Amir Didic going through, and Marco Carducci, Dominic Zator, the current crop. And Jeff, I'm sure there's loads of names from your previous list that have gone on to represent Canada and move. But I think we show that we've got talent, and we're different than any other province in the way we do our indoor game, to our outdoor game, to our development pathway. And we've been successful in spite of the pathway, just because there's a lot of good people around that really want to provide.
Yeah, rightfully so. There's been a lot of positive things said about Ontario League One, and and how many players came out of that league in year one into the CPL, and out of necessity, of course, because every team is putting 16 Canadians on their rosters, brand new. So you're going to have high numbers out of a semi-pro league for sure. The Quebec PLSQ as well, but what never gets mentioned though is the amount of Albertans, Calgarians, and Edmontonians that played in the CPL in year one. And if you look at our population, versus Toronto and versus the accessibility of all the players in Ontario versus what we have in Alberta, I think you'd probably find that Alberta put up actually maybe better, more impressive numbers in the CPL in year one. So, there's a lot happening here. I'm proud of what happens in Alberta. I'm proud of the players that come out of here. And I'm always going to, like Tommy will, but I'll always speak up for these kids in this province of ours.
How much did it mean to you, both of you, that the first national team call-ups from this league were Alberta players from your teams, and Marco and Amir?
Yeah, it's I think we all went into it, and I guess it's a bit of a journey because, like Jeff alluded to earlier, we've been wanting to push these players forward. It's always our job, because here's the thing, and Jeff had it probably more so than I did. When you invite players from youth clubs into your club, there's some that are positive and go, great, that's what we want, move them on, we've done our job. And there's others that are like, you're taking our players away. At the end of the day, our job now is to do exactly the same. So we sold, Joel Waterman off, Shamit Shom, again, we'll mention his name. You move them into environments that are perhaps more established. So our job is no different. So when we're building it, and we went through all these Got Game series, I can tell you, every single coach in this league, from Bobby there with his Sigma crop, to Stephen Hart, a former national team boss, Rob Gale, former U20 boss, to Jimmy Brennan, former national team player, even Pamadou Carr that's come in and got the game going. These are all coaches that, when we went through this journey, we wanted the best Canadian players going, and we knew as part of our remit, and the We Are Many, We Are One mandate, was to get players into John Herdman's crop. And in fairness to John, he's come and sat with us, hasn't he, Jeff, and said, look, this is where we're at, and this is where our players, how many can we get into the Olympic squad and onwards? So to get Carducci and Zator from our side was immense in year one.
Yeah. I honestly, I'll just agree with what Tommy said there. Fantastic achievement for these players, and yeah, obviously a bit of pride with the two Alberta teams, having our players make that jump into the national team, and hopefully we'll see more that are Edmontonians and Calgarians, Albertans, getting on that side. So,
and knowing the players like you did, and Jeff, the emotions when you saw Amir score for Canada.
Yeah, probably I couldn't wipe the smile off my face for hours. I wish he would have scored for us. But I've said, I think he actually did, Amir. But yeah, what a moment for him. And we're fortunate in this, and what we get to see, Tommy and I, is the day-to-day work that these players put in. The blood, sweat, and tears. The tears of agony on an injury that when a player sustains that, and they've got to come out of a game or be held out of a game. But just I remember telling Amir, when he was getting the call up, and just just the emotion in his face, and the passion that he felt, and the pride, and and I almost teared up seeing that in him, and because you just see how much they want it. And it'd be the same for Tommy. It's just, it's hard to explain the pride that you feel, and just that one moment of pure emotion in a young player. So yeah, it's every time you see them put on our jersey, a national team jersey, it's a real feel-good moment, certainly in this household.
And it's a unique situation when you start a league like this, and both of you, because you've known these players for so long. Tommy, you've coached a lot of these guys, won a PDL title, knew a lot of these guys when they were a lot younger. Jeff, the same with you, working with players in the FC Edmonton Academy. Again, it's like going back to Tommy winning that PDL title. Jeff, I know you took players to Northern Ireland for, I guess, the tournament that used to be known as the Milk Cup, but competing against some of the world's best teenagers in Northern Ireland with your FC Edmonton boys. To see them make those jumps, to see them move into professional careers, to see them succeed in this league. And you've been with them for so long. What is that process like, and what are the emotions? You're not inheriting these players; these are players that you've had for a very long time.
How about you go, Jeff?
Okay, yeah, I mean, everyone's almost like a proud dad moment. I don't have my own kids, so when I see these kids come, I mean, I've had some of these players since 14 years old. And I've watched the hard times, and I've watched the ups and downs that you see with young players, that we all see with young players. And not every day is the best day. And, the amount of time you spend talking and encouraging and wanting the best for them. So, I mean, I've always said that if I had the privilege of coaching or managing this team and making decisions, I was always going to look to the players that certainly want to represent FC Edmonton, that have come through our academy, now the U20 reserve team. These are the players I want in the club. I want the players that have a passion to play for the city in front of their family and friends, wear our logo, and then want to move on. I want to be part of their process and part of their journey, and I want players here that just really have it in here, have it in their heart, what this club is about and what they're about. So, yeah, it's hard to explain the feeling you get when a young player that you've worked with signs a pro contract. And that's all of them. I'll tell you what, that's Jose Hernandez, signing for Pacific, and now obviously with Tommy. You see these young players, Carlos Patino last year, seeing him in a Cavalry uniform. These are all proud moments, not just after with Edmonton, but you're seeing kids achieve their dream that personally and have an emotional attachment to. So, yeah, Tommy.
Yeah, I think it's like watching your kid graduate, because they're graduating, they pick up their role and walk on, and they've got the cap and gown on, but nobody sees the homework they failed on or the class they flunked that they need to go through. And I tell you what, with these players now, it's the journey you're part of. So when I see Elijah Adekugbe, he missed 2017 because he snapped his Achilles tendon. It could have been the end for him. Came back and won the PDL championship the following year as one of the captains. Dominic Zator is a great story on why we talk about different types of development and long term. Never once picked for his provincial program through his youth, and he was a good player through his youth. Never once picked for them. Never once got into national setup or any clubs. Played a couple of good years at UFC after graduating, got his degree. Played a couple of years for us in the Foothills PDL as he's going through school. And Whitecaps came in for him, so he played for their USL team. Didn't play many games. Released, came back. We had to build him back up again, but the rejection kept him going. And so when he was one of the first names down on there that to get a national team call up, I'd seen all the work he'd done, and he just kept us a level playing field, put in the work. A terrific athlete. And Marco Carducci's no different. A lad that left the Calgary Villains club as a 14-year-old, and he had everything going for him. Played in the Canadian Championship against Toronto for Whitecaps, and things have happened. Other goalies come in, and he ends up in a second team of Houston Dynamo for, Rio Van Toros, and he was the second goalie there. He wasn't playing much, so we brought him out of that, got him in a place to play, and now look at him. He ends up being the VW Player of the Year, but he suffered. And I think every time I talk to these young players coming through now, so we've got young Arbin Peppel, Jose Hernandez is one that's come through, Victor Lattori, all these young players coming through. I talk to them about, you've got to be able to suffer. And they look at me as if like, hang on a minute, that's not really a sales pitch. But without that suffering, you don't get to enjoy the prize of walking out in front of 6,000 people at Spruce Meadows to play an El Clasico derby, or to play Forge in the finals, or the Whitecaps. You don't get to enjoy those moments if you haven't suffered before. And I tell you, every single player across the league now will know exactly what I'm talking about, because for 12 weeks they've been suffering, as the world have. But it's going to make our league stronger when we come back together, because you've got to have it to weigh it up.
It's you use that term suffering, and I've heard you use that before. I've heard that you use that at Spruce Meadows and maybe some of the post-game press conferences last year, and it's something that echoes that I've heard Julian de Guzman say many times about his own professional career, saying that he had to, when he went over to Europe, he had to know how to suffer and how to struggle to impress people and know that it was a fight to kind of get up there. So it's something that, I think young players, if you're out there watching, you have to learn that it's not going to come easy. Even if it might be coming to you fairly well now when you're 13, 14, you're going to have to push hard. And it's a lot about not just about talent, but about that work rate and what you're willing to give.
I think those documentaries that came out, The Last Dance, was brilliant timing for these players because they got to see it, and everyone knows MJ was the greatest and these things that he pulled off. But what nobody really seen was the pain he was going through. And, from things like his dad died and he ended up winning the NBA championship as an MVP the same year his dad died on Father's Day. I mean, can you imagine the suffering that you have to go through mentally to achieve that? The getting in the gym at the end because you got beaten up by the Detroit Pistons. That's the difference. And when I talk to all the players, we train hard, as I'm sure everyone puts in there, but you've got to be able to embrace those hard moments. And, as a player, I wasn't good enough to play a longevity career as a pro game. So I had to go back through university and I had to suffer in a different way to stay in the game. And it's the best message you can hand to anybody is handle the suffering and you'll enjoy the high moments.
And obviously the rivalry and, talking to players and, for example, Connor James telling me, how well he knows Marco Carducci from playing with him over the years, again, different provincial programs. Now, I mentioned off the top the Zebi brothers now playing on opposite sides of the rivalry, but so many players who know each other and have played. Nik Ledgerwood, who has led both teams at different times in his career. Players who know each other, coaches who know each other, and in a league that is still a small league, moving up with Ottawa coming in to 8 teams. But how do you two surprise each other on match day? Can you surprise each other, or can you come up with a wrinkle? Is one of you going to come up with some crazy formation that stuns everyone? But how much of it is just simply execution and who's the better effort on that day, and how much of it is X's and O's? Can you do something on the blackboard that actually surprises the other team?
Yeah, you certainly look for that. You certainly try to find over the course of a couple of games, some of the tendencies that each other has, and you try to find or work on that week, that one area where you notice maybe a little wrinkle or something that just is maybe not going right at the time. We're talking obviously about Cavalry. We do that, but it was, I have to say, it was difficult. I mean, obviously watching Tommy's team last year, they did have a style of play, a particular way of playing. They would switch, obviously their formation a little bit, depending. So you had to really think about how they were going to, were they going 3 in the back this time? Where was the tour going to line up? Some of these questions you had to answer going into a game. You had to wait till the game started, just to kind of then make an adjustment because Tommy was very good at switching his, just some of the playing positions, maybe the odd time for a little wrinkle. But, we thought that we knew the characteristics of Tommy's players, and as he'll probably, when he gets a chance, he will say the same about ours. So we tried to really focus on the characteristics and different qualities that players on Cavalry had. And we tried to use some of that against them, and even some of their good qualities we wanted to use against them, because some of their good qualities sometimes can take a player out of position, because they are successful at doing something, maybe try to exploit that. So we wanted to do that, and we felt we matched up okay. And, at the end of the day, we thought the last game, that was the game that I thought Cavalry, showed their quality against us and were the better side on the day. We struggled that game. The first 4, I thought, they were decent. They were decent games, and I thought, tactically, I think both teams had each other figured out for the most part. Even the 3-0 game, I thought was actually a good game. Probably that was actually one of our better long periods of football that we had over 90 minutes the entire season. And we lose 3-0, and but in the first 4 games, both teams attempted 40 shots on goal. in the first 4 games. I leave out the 5th game as Tommy's getting ready for the finals, and our season's done completely. But both teams had 40 shots at goal. I think we had 15 on target, and they had 17 on target. But they put their chances away, certainly. And that again, credit to their team defending it. Not a lot of blocked shots, a lot of limited chances right in front of goal. Where those chances are hard to get against Cavalry. So, yeah. Anyhow, long-winded answer of saying, but we thought tactically we had a good idea of how they were going to play, and at the end of the day, though, I think execution is a big piece of it for sure. But I was always proud of our players. Whenever we played Cavalry, I was never really disappointed in our team. When they came off that pitch, outside, the last game was the last game, and it was a one-off. But yeah, anyhow, there you are, Tommy.
Yeah, I think it's when you play each other 4 or 5 times. Some teams you play more, some teams you play less. You got to rotate and shuffle the deck a little bit just to keep a bit of a guessing game. At the end of the day, no matter what formation you play, your principles stay the same. We know we're going to build out from the back, and we know we're going to press from the front. Aside from that, it comes down to a bit of individual brilliance. And I agree with Jeff. Every one of those games, the first 4 were very, very close. And what we had to do really was we had to be patient in them. And I remember, I think the one that we ended up tying on the 16th, we played Montreal Impact 2 days prior. And I looked at Jeff and Sean. They could tell, they looked at us and gone, and this is our chance to take them, because we knew we were tired and we were emotionally drained, having been knocked out. But our lads just stuck in there and knew it was a derby. The lads that we'd shuffled the deck with went out and give a good showing. But I think when you play in these derbies, it really comes down to the players and a moment of brilliance. We can, give them everything we know and what we think, Edmonton will do and what we think we can do really well. It comes down to a moment of brilliance. And in that 3-0 game that Jeff referenced, Sergio Camargo was the difference. He took 2 great shots and it opened up, and then Nico Pasquotti's drive run. But if you looked at the first half, I made a substitution after about half an hour and brought off Julian Boucher, put Waterman into midfield because they'd overloaded us. They'd kept going. So I had to make quick changes, and it was a gamble, but it ended up paying off for us because they had us on our heels. But these games are like a boxing match. Some rounds you're not going to win. There might be periods of the game where you will be against the ropes, and you've just got to make sure you're able to survive through it. And then when you get your chance, you put them away. And fortunately, we had that this season.
Okay, and if you're watching probably from outside Alberta and you support any of the teams who aren't FC Edmonton or Cavalry, I'm probably gonna throw a bit of a red blanket out there with this question. How special would it be once we get back to playing in whatever way the format of the league is going to be this year? How the season will be played? How special would it be if you two were the last 2 teams standing at the end, playing each other for the trophy?
That would be incredible. I mean, I imagined, I think we said it was probably after that, in around that 0-0 game afterwards, and we'd gone, okay, we're off. I said, and I think I said, yeah, I hope to see you in the final, because they'd come on the back of the 4 season, actually started really, really well and had a good run of games, and thought, okay, they've got a chance here. And we took that draw as like, that's actually a really good draw against them because they're on good run of form. And I think if we can get to the final, what a showcase in the same province where fans can drive to the games and be around. I think that would not only just, emphasize how good the 2 clubs are, but again, really accelerate the growth even more so of the local young footballers that are coming through.
Yeah, when you said that right away, I was laughing, Steven, just because everything Tommy said there, absolutely. And, but I also think, now the NHL with the head offices of the NHL being in the States and so many American teams, I kind of laugh now that the worst thing to ever happen in the NHL would be 2 Canadian teams playing the final, in the Stanley Cup final. And I often think that maybe for the CPL office, the worst thing to ever happen would be 2 Albertan teams playing in the final. So I'd be delighted to make that happen.
Do you not think they'd appreciate the flights out here?
I don't imagine, no.
Well, as I said, that was a bit of I'm sure they can send a hate mail if you're a Forge supporter, a York supporter, Halifax, out there, Winnipeg, out there in BC as well. You can send your hate mail to either me or Jeff or Tommy. We'll all be there. But I'd like to thank you, gentlemen. We're gonna show some highlights from the El Clasico, and then we're going to bring in the team captains to chat a bit, and then after that we're going to have the premiere of another special El Clasico video, a highlight video that's going to be a premiere of that El Clasico trailer that we're going to air for their halftime portion. But right now we're going to have a little break, and then bring in our two team captains. And gentlemen, stay around. We're not done with you, either of you, yet. We have plans for you later for a little more, I guess, less friendly, more competitive
I'm
part of this night.
I'm glad you clarified when you said we're bringing on the premiere. I'm glad there was more to that than we're bringing on the premiere. So,
all right. Well, we're going to have the video, and then we're going to bring in the captains next after this break.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
The Alberta Derby, what some pundits have suggested may be a potential CPL title matchup, pits the top two clubs in the country against each other. Our first real threatening chance of the game belongs to the home side. A fantastic move and an even better save. Oliver Minitel dancing around along the left side, challenging Connor James, but he was up to the task. This is doing nothing else but slowing down FC Edmonton after pretty significant opportunities for them. And Cavalry almost responding with a couple chances. James had to come out to punch it. Danger still there. Pasquati with a rifle. Didn't miss by much. A flurry of opportunity for Cavalry. Just an absolutely abysmal effort from Didic, turning the ball over, then getting in the keeper's way. And the Eddies are very lucky that shot from the top of the box was off the mark. James punched it away, but gave up all of his positioning. Didic steps up, carries the ball over center, takes a look, and then sends a low skipping ball that Giantsopolis had trouble containing. Now the Cavs turn it over the top of the 18. A shot from distance, and they put it off the bar. Another opportunity in front. And a second chance, the volley, not a whole lot behind it. The foot soldiers erupt behind the Cavalry net. Happy with their keeper, but they can't like what they just saw on defense. Just a beautiful opportunity from outside. And Mortozzi just tries to turn and swing. Mavilla does just enough to disrupt the rhythm. It's a beautiful opportunity from Cabra. Chance now for Minitel once again, and this time, no, they've waved it off. Well, it looked like the Brazilian had broken the deadlock on a second opportunity after an earlier chance. But he was standing in an offside position as the flag goes up. The visitors dodging a bullet. It's Patino to take. Plays a low ball through, skirts through the wall. Headed in the general direction of Minitel, but the Brazilian couldn't get a boot to it. Diak running through the center of the pitch. Lays it off, and a shot from Mortozzi right into the awaiting arms of Giantsopolis. Opportunity now. Escalante takes it with the left boot. Cavalry screaming for the handball. Here's our look at the replay. It's a Sua, goes off his shoulder. At least that's my vantage point at full speed. That looked not conclusive either. Another youngster, Ongaro, with a chance. It's a good turn. Doesn't rush it, but perhaps took just about a second and a half too long as Giantsopolis was able to track it. It's a throw-in from Nico Pasquati. High ball, James parries it away. A shot and a fantastic save from James. He gets a ton of power behind this volley. James punches it clear, has to battle through his own teammates, and then the left-footed volley from Waterman struck well. Unfortunately, he put it in the one place where the green jersey was standing. So after 90 minutes of play, this one ends 0-0. FC Edmonton still looking to find the back of the net against Cavalry.
Okay. We are back here. This is Steven Sandor for the Classico Pub Night. And now we move to the second portion of the evening where we bring in the team captains, Tomi Ameobi from FC Edmonton. Welcome, Tomi.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. And there's Nik Ledgerwood from Cavalry FC. Nik, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How you guys holding up?
Oh, we're all doing fine.
Good to see you guys.
You too, buddy.
Now, obviously, I think Nik and Tomi have been sick seeing me over the years, but here we are again, gentlemen. And obviously, on either side of the rivalry, but former teammates for the NASL, for some time in the NASL with FC Edmonton. So maybe first talk a little bit about scouting each other, both as, you've played together and now you've been played against each other. Maybe a little scouting report on each of you from the other.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique league, right? Because you play each other so many times. And I think we have so many friends or, close relationships between the two teams that everybody's trying to get a little bit more information out of each other than you normally would any other teams. So I think, although there's a great friendship along with this rivalry, you're trying to get this little bit of information, who's in the starting lineup, who's injured, who's been off the last couple games. And you try to, almost, I guess, chat with your friends on the team and try to get maybe a little bit of information out of them where you can.
It's called It's called spying, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, essentially it is, right? I still have really good friends up in Edmonton. With Tomi, with Lars, Alan as well, and we keep in contact every now and again, and especially during the season. You're asking how guys are doing, and obviously you follow up on each other. So. Maybe there's a little bit more spying or scouting than normally with any other teams.
Would you lie to each other?
I don't think you would lie. You just
distort the truth.
The question. Yeah,
distort the truth a little bit.
It feels a bit Games of Thrones-ish here, right? Like that we're talking about. A little bird told me that maybe this player is going to start on Sunday. So, or this player might be carrying a knock. I mean, I heard that a few times in training sessions. Oh, I heard that this guy might not be playing this weekend. So I know the spying goes on.
Yeah, definitely. Hey. I think from my point of view as well, having played with Nik, obviously, the qualities he brings as a footballer. But you also know that when you're playing against him, he's going to get his team going. So that's one thing that we were always aware of, that when Nik was on the field for Cavalry, you knew it was going to be a battle. So,
yeah, Nik's a little bit intense on the pitches.
He is. He knows how to get under your skin. Let's put it that way.
I definitely haven't lost the passion for the game, and sometimes it comes across in different ways. But especially when you start talking about rivalries and derbies and the Battle of Alberta, the El Clasico, it's a lot of it's about emotion as well, to get almost the troops rallied. Mm-hmm. And to get people motivated for games like that. It's a special one, especially for the fans, to say they're the winners of Alberta for that week or that until the next game. So I think there's a little extra spice that has to be put on it. And Edmonton has a great leader in Tomi, and I lead very vocally here in Calgary. And you got to do what you got to do to get the troops motivated.
Now, I think in some ways I'm going to draw a parallel between the two of you. You came here to play in the NASL with FC Edmonton.
Yeah.
And I guess it's fair to say you fell in love with this country because you wanted to stay, and you've made your family here, and you've made your home here. And Nik, you came back from Europe, moved back home to Alberta, and again started your family here. Getting that kind of going back to your roots, but establishing yourselves. But it's a lot there, like in terms of you wanting just even more than coming here to play soccer again. It's more about your long-term life plans, is it not?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say so. To be honest, when I first moved here, I say this all the time. I didn't really know where Alberta was, or Edmonton for that matter of fact. But from the first moment I got here, I immediately felt at home. From the club to the fans to just the people in the community, just really welcoming. And obviously, having spent the first year or two here, it just became apparent to me that, okay, this is going to be home. And it has been ever since, bar the 1 year that the NASL shut its doors in 2018. But as soon as the CPL started back up, I knew I wanted to be back up in Canada.
For you,
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same for me. You know, I always had the idea of coming back to Canada after the career in Europe, and you know, I obviously tried to move back when the MLS was in Toronto and Vancouver, and just never got picked up for whatever reason that was. But I think that door being closed opened up this door for me, being even closer to home, closer to my family, and being able to then promote and help build this league closer to home. The steps that I never had growing up as a kid, and I think that was one of the biggest reasons as well, is wanting to move back to Edmonton, and now back to Calgary and being in Calgary. It's like Tommy said, you know, moving to Edmonton was very comfortable. You felt welcomed. It was a great community, great fans. The ownership group was great, and you know, moving back to Calgary was almost that one little step closer for me, being closer to where I grew up, and now being able to put down roots with my family and help take that next step to grow the game in a different way.
So I think when you first came here, and correct me if I'm wrong, did you not mention to me that the weather here was worse than Iceland?
To be fair, when I stepped off the plane, it was like -25, and that's the first time I'd ever experienced that. So, yeah, it was a bit of a shock to the system. But I don't want to say I'm used to it, but you learn to tolerate it. Let's say that.
And that's a warm winter.
Well, you know, both of you know that, like even last year, I think you had every season possible at CanPL games, because Nik, you started off in the snow, right?
Yeah.
And then FC Edmonton had a game postponed because of forest fire smoke. So every element possible out there that I think.
Yeah, I think when you're playing in Alberta, you got to expect that throughout the whole year you're going to play in every kind of weather possible. So you know, it's been done before, and especially when the schedule came out this year that we were going to kick off 2 weeks earlier, I just kind of shook my you know, it's one of those. It's like, oh, really? Like 2 weeks? Really, 2 weeks earlier? And we played in snow last year. So yeah, you know, and then to look at the weekend where we would have kicked off, I think it was 12 above, sunny out. You know, so you just kind of shake your head. So,
and you know why it was 12 above? Because you weren't playing. You know that
exactly.
The fates would say, "Oh, there's a game." We used to joke that about in the FC Edmonton days, that you know if FC Edmonton's playing because the weather's lousy.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So. Now, Nik, I gave you a little bit. Maybe I asked you about this post game, and I think you probably remember. You scored the winning goal on a penalty against Edmonton last year at Clark Stadium, and I asked you about celebrating against your former team, and you had no reservations that it was, you know, the rivalry being what it is. You're a Cavalry player now. You didn't feel that sort of need to not celebrate. You enjoyed yourself, enjoyed the moment. Maybe take us back to that.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, you know, I wear Cavalry colors now. That's who I play for. That's who I bleed now is for Cavalry. I did the same when I was with Edmonton. I'm not a player to shy about stuff like that. And, you know, to score a goal, there's a lot of passion behind games. There's a lot that goes into these games, a lot of preparation that go into games like this. And, you know, for somebody to hide that passion or emotion after a goal score, you know, I'm just not one of those players. I show my emotion on my sleeve, and I'm passionate about what I do. It's by no means any disrespect to any of the fans or the organization in Edmonton. It's more showing my love and passion for my now club in Cavalry.
Do you think that's a bit overdone in soccer? I mean, it's not done in other sports, right? Like you would never see that in hockey or in the NHL, or you wouldn't see in other sports where guys sort of say you don't celebrate against your former team. But there seems to be this unwritten rule in a lot of soccer clubs that you don't you don't go back to your former club and you don't do well and then sort of celebrate in front of their fans. But do you think that's a bit overdone or a bit overstated?
I think it's personal choice as well. And I do think at times it's a little bit overdone, but I think also at times these players have, 7, 8, 9, 10-year long careers at clubs, and these clubs have given them every chance and hope to fulfill that dream. So there is that little bit of maybe respect at the end of the day. That's okay. I'm not going to cheer against or celebrate against these fans who, for the majority of my career were behind me, cheering me on. And so I think there's a little bit of that as well. And, that's something especially that you'll never find in hockey.
And Kate, to Tomi, this is maybe a little bit of a change in gears, but over the years, I think one thing that's maybe appreciate being Canadian a little more is when players over the years came to Edmonton, and not just you, but players that I can name from the past who came here and they raved about being here. And we know Daryl Fordyce, who's now with Valor, really enjoyed. Albert Watson really enjoyed being here. Richie Jones, another guy who was just really enjoyed playing here, coming from England. How a lot of these guys and Daryl, and I know yourself, moving towards Canadian citizenship. Where is that for you right now? And how close is it to the paperwork being done?
Well, the paperwork's a nightmare. I'm going to tell you that to begin with. But I'm still probably a year off being able to formally apply for my citizenship. So I've just got to hold the horses on that a little bit. I hear there's a bit of a test that you have to do as well when you apply for your citizenship, and history was probably my worst subject at school. So Nik, if you've got any tips and pointers, mate.
You're looking in the wrong direction, pal.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than actually asking someone who has Canadian citizenship to help you with their Canadian history test.
No, but
keep looking.
It's definitely something I'm going to look to do as soon as, like I say, I get the right number of days. Just because Canada's home now, and like you touched on it, Steve, there's been a number of players who came through this club here at FC Edmonton that have made this home for however long, and that is, like I was saying, because of the club, because of the community. It's really welcoming, and even guys like I've got a teammate in Kareem who was at Edmonton, left, came back, and he regards himself as a Canadian, quote unquote.
Now, I'll finish it with this question. I go back maybe a couple of years, 3 years, and you're both playing at FC Edmonton, and you both know the NASL is kind of, at least whatever they want to call it, on hiatus, done. Mm-hmm. That the league is not going to happen, and FC Edmonton suspends its operation of its pro team for a year. Could you imagine you be here now with the Canadian League and kind of seeing soccer from that point being resuscitated in Alberta, and seeing where your careers have gone since that? Because obviously it went from being a very dark time to a very optimistic time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a hard time for anybody in that situation to not know what your future is going to be, and to almost put all your chips into one bag and say, I'm a footballer, I'm a soccer player, but I've come back home to set roots, and now all of a sudden things have crumbled in whatever way, shape, or form it was with the league folding, and now all of a sudden you got to think, okay, well, am I going to move the family back to Germany? Are we going to try and go down to the US? Well, what are we going to try and do? I think luckily enough that at that point when it did fold, there was already a little bit of whisper about, some type of league trying to be formed in the CPL at some way or another. Tomi's a great example. He went down to Cincinnati to play, and it's just the life of a footballer that you do what you can to survive at that stage, and you got to keep your feet in the game for however long you can. But then to hear Canada is going to build its first real domestic league by Canadians for Canadians was the motto. And to me, that's the only way this is going to survive. And it's the only way it's going to build. And it's the only way, we're going to put more depth into our national team. And you can see players like Tomi and Kareem wanting to come back to Canada because they feel comfortable here. They feel at home here. And at the end of the day, they almost have now an obligation to help build this league and be, good ambassadors for this league, especially for foreign players coming here to play.
Yeah. I mean, to build on that, we've seen the quality of some of the Canadian players over the past season, and now we're seeing some of those young guys get their chance on a bigger stage in Europe. So there's no doubt in my mind that the CPL was the right thing. And I hope it goes from strength to strength, and it provides a platform for players to make the jump to the next stage. But at the same time, we also want to see the CPL grow as well and become one of the bigger leagues around world football.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you both for joining us. And just like the coaches, we're going to have you back a little later for the for the second half, competitive portion of the evening. So
it's not a history quiz, is it?
Oh, maybe it will be now. I'm going to go fetch a Canadian history book right now. And so, no, I think it will. We'll keep it simple. We won't give you a preliminary citizenship test tonight. But right now, for the people online, we are about to do the debut of the Forever First El Clasico video, and that's going to mark our halftime, and then we're going to come back and have some fun and games and have a little competition between the teams.
Sounds good.
From our homes.
Awesome.
The day of an El Clasico, you can guarantee all bets are off. Friendships are put aside, and when that whistle blows, everybody's given everything they can to create that moment of magic to get those 3 points and the bragging rights. For 90 minutes, friends become foes.
Oh, yes! Carmago on the counter. He gets the ball back. And now here's Malonga cutting inside. A shot on goal, but he's gone over target.
It was one of the games that we were well prepared for, and we went down there with the mindset of getting 3 points. You could see throughout the game that we dominated the game, and to see that we got deflected goal was really tough.
Inside, Carmago. Carmago back to Brown. Another opportunity, and that's in! Cavs have drawn first blood in El Clasico.
Beating Edmonton is always just a little bit sweeter. I'm a Calgary boy, and the Calgary-Edmonton rivalry in any sport, or even outside of sport, it's always there. And to be involved in it in the CPL and the El Clasico this last season was really exciting to be a part of, and for me to represent my city. It was a good one. I'm hoping for some more very soon.
There's a shot on goal, but handled by James. A break, a shot. Carducci just gets a palm on it.
It did really hurt not to be able to get the 3 points in that game, but it really sets us up going into the next season in terms of building on that rivalry. The camaraderie between both sets of fans and the tensions between both sets of players is something that I think only continue to grow.
Okay, we're back here, and we now have some additions to the lineups for both FC Edmonton and Cavalry FC, as Nik Ledgerwood is joined by teammate Elijah Adekugbe to take on Kareem Moses and Tomi Ameobi. So, gentlemen, welcome to our Classico Pub Night. And I wish I could say that I wasn't going to throw you to the wolves, but I'm going to throw you to the wolves. I think you were told, everyone, to have a pad and pen or a marker of some kind. Good. I think we've all got that. We all ready? We hear affirmative from everyone. All ready to go.
Let's get this done.
Let's get this done. All right. So Kareem, Elijah, welcome to the fray, as we are going to play the Newlywed Game. You remember who watched the Newlywed Game? Who was around? That's like the kid in the 70s, and their parents watched the Newlywed Game. Do you remember this?
Step up, Nik and Tommy.
Okay. So
Don't let age be a factor here.
Okay, I will to show how old I am. I will say that I'm going to play the role of Bob Eubanks, and what I'm going to ask you is, it's not important to have the right answer, because there is no right and wrong. Well, actually, a couple of questions have a right and wrong, but it's not important that you're right and wrong. The important thing is that your answers match each other. So you're going to write down, I'm going to ask you both sets of questions, and you get a point. If Kareem and Tomi, your answers match, you get a point. Nik, Elijah, if your answers match,
come on, Skip,
you get a point.
Come on,
and now we're both asking the same question.
Come on, Lige.
So
Kareem's probably sitting on the other side of the table from Tomi.
Yeah.
You'll
Now,
never know about.
We were going to be looking for hand signals. If I see hand signals, I will issue red cards. I am the referee out here, and I'm going to try to keep things clean and fair. But we're going to start asking some questions, and I have 10 questions, and obviously, the first point in this match between Cavalry and FC Edmonton will go to the team that gets the most matches. So let's get to this. For both sets of teams, and I'll give you a few seconds to write your answer down. Who is the best dressed player on your team?
Are we talking last year's roster, Steve?
Ooh. Are we talking? I guess we got to go with last year's roster, because
come on, Tommy. You know this.
Write down your answers. We'll go
Tommy, come
roster.
on. I believe in you, man.
100, bro.
Come on, bro. Come on. You have to choose the right.
I hope you can read my writing, by the way.
Okay, well, that don't use that as an excuse, saying I meant that to mean something.
Come on, Tommy. You better.
All right. So we got to work on that penmanship for the citizenship test anyways. So are we all ready? Do we have our answers?
Yes,
no.
Are we ready? So
yeah,
first,
I'm good.
First, we'll ask Cavalry.
Whoa.
To put up your answers for Nik and Elijah. Okay. Let's see if they have a match. You put them up in front of the camera.
Lads, ready?
Oh, he's nervous. Oh, God. Get out of here.
There we go.
Oh, we can tie it up here. We can tie it up.
So now we have a goal. We have a goal call. We give that. That's a good one, and we're gonna say that crosses the line for Cavalry. Nik, you can feel free to celebrate again if you want. And now Tomi and Kareem. We'll see if you can match. You can match it.
Come,
Let's go. Let's put it up there.
You're on.
There we go. So now we are equal. If you know, that was Randy's nickname up there. So I am allowing it. I am saying that's a good goal. I am saying that's fine. So we're gonna call that a draw, that round. So I am.
So FC Edmonton's tied their goal tally from last year.
Oh boy!
All right.
It didn't take long for this to escalate. Right. It did not, and this is what I call the official notepad and the official pen of Al Clasico. But I will keep score here, and I will write down that we have one apiece. So now we get to the next question. All right. This is a curveball. What does the Al in Al Clasico stand for? Remember, it's not important to have it right. It's important to match.
What does it stand for? Why is that a curveball?
See, this is what the host does. He confuses the guests.
I'm not sure
What does the Al in Al Clasico stand for?
Am I missing something here?
Maybe. This is on the citizen test as well. Your citizenship. This is the first question, Tomi.
Are you good?
Are we ready? Are we ready? Okay. Now, first, because we went Cavalry first last time, we're gonna go alternating. FC Edmonton, please raise your cards.
Come on, we know each other.
No, I don't have it, Tommy. Oh my God.
You didn't write anything.
Bro, I started thinking about Real Madrid, Barcelona, what the hell?
Oh my goodness.
I started going all over. I went all over.
Okay. All right. Nick, Elijah, please raise your cards.
Oh my God.
Kareem, man.
I have to say, Cavalry has pulled into the lead.
What are you doing?
Sorry. I'm gonna bring us back.
I hope this is not going to cause problems in the dressing room later when we get back to training.
Yes, on that one, bro.
that same page.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Get to question 3.
Jeff killing me now. Look,
Okay.
Jeff killing me now.
Okay. What's the not that it's good for your diets because you're on soccer player diets, but what's the best food item served at your stadium? If you're gonna go for a snack at the stadium, so if you're at Spruce Meadows or you're at Clark Field, what are you gonna eat? We got a match. Remember, it's a match. What do you think you're both gonna answer? What's the best item?
Not gonna lie, I'm blanking here, Ledge.
Yeah, but Kareem's a picky eater. Picky eater.
It sounds like you're outsmarting yourself here.
Come,
Yeah. Has to be that.
Bro, the way how you're excited about the answer, I don't think we might match, huh?
Yeah, but it has to be that. That's the one thing everyone talks about when they come to the food. Yeah.
All right. Cavalry, you have the lead. You can go first. Flash your answer.
All right, Elijah, stand up there.
Look, Elijah still changing.
Elijah
Hot dog.
nervous.
No, I got to raise that card.
Whoa! It's done. It's done. No point.
There's no chance.
I don't see that.
I don't know the spell. What's that?
Bratwurst. Ooh, I don't know.
No chance. That's not a hot. Technically,
no chance.
My spelling. My German spelling before.
Tomi, to be fair, Spruce Meadows doesn't even sell hot dogs. They're bratwurst. I just didn't know if you guys.
There we go.
Well,
if everybody knew the German culture.
Nick did play in Germany.
So what?
I'm waffling here. I'm waffling if this is going to count.
German, because I knew my spelling was off.
Oh my goodness!
The thing is, now I'm in a bad spot because now I'm gonna be I'm not sure if I can allow that, guys. I'm not sure if I can. I'm not sure. I don't.
We'll let the officials do that.
I think as a referee, I'm gonna call that cleared off the line. I'm gonna VAR. We're gonna do the VAR on that one.
What was missing?
The VAR says no goal. No goal says VAR on that one. I think we can have this debate. You can send your answers. Is bratwurst a hot dog? I don't think it is. If you want to respond,
Steve,
on
is
Twitter,
your location Edmonton right now? Steve, are you living in Edmonton right now?
I just said VAR has ruled on this one, so we will move to Edmonton, and we will see what Edmonton says.
Come on, let's go. Let's go.
I'm hoping, bro.
We had to give him a chance.
Hey! Let's go!
I'm calling this now a tie at
Let's
2.
go.
Let's go.
I mean, I don't know. Kareem's had an S on the end, so I don't know if that's
Steve, we've seen this chat that we're
all right.
sending messages.
We're gonna move away from. Okay, what is your? I get to question 4. Your team tradition. What's your team tradition before going out and marching out for your home game? What's a team tradition before when you leave that dressing room and walk out into the pitch?
What? What's this tradition that we normally do?
Yeah, but what if you don't have one?
Yeah.
Well,
no, honestly, because I think we don't have one.
Can we just?
Oh well, there was your problem.
I think too that's sort of communicating with each other, and I'm gonna have to say that you guys are talking a little too much about your answers to each other.
What?
I'm gonna have to warn you guys. There's gonna be a yellow card here flashed.
All right. Give us a chance.
I knew what we used to do in the NFL days, but not
yeah, not in the CPL days. The CPL days, right?
Are they asking each other questions?
I don't know. I'm having a problem here, guys. You guys are trying to communicate.
What do you mean?
All right. I'm going for it.
Okay.
Tommy, I'm going
All
on.
right. All right. Edmonton, please can I have your answer?
We're going up again?
Yeah.
No chance. If this is right, I'm asking questions.
Hey, let's go.
That's another one on the ball. Yes.
Are we calling those the same thing, Steve?
That's my problem here because my son and I'm going to go with my son. If I could go upstairs and tell him because he's an expert on dabbing, and saying if that's the same thing as a high five. Because I'm not sure if it is. I'm not sure if it is.
About, like this whole thing they be doing. We're talking about.
Yeah, like a dab is this. A dab is this. This is not a high five. I'm going to rule that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm being surrounded by Cavalry players right now, but as well, I have to say, I don't think a dab is a high five. And again, if people want to go on Twitter and debate this, I don't think they're the same thing.
It is the same.
Wow. I'm with you. You're right. You know,
that's enough from the Cavalry. I'm going to make this decision as the referee, and now we'll have Cavalry show your answers. Please show your answers.
Look, Elijah.
Oh, yes, that is a match, and I'm going to give Cavalry the lead.
Exact same word.
Yeah,
so wait, hold on.
Wait. Go ahead for me.
If I had to put fist bumps, you'd have been like, it's different.
Let's be real.
That means it's awkward. We're not going to feel comfortable doing it. Come on, we know.
All right.
It's awkward. It's different.
Okay. Now we get back. Who's the first person who arrives in the locker room on a game day? Who's the first player?
The first player.
Who's always the first one there? Who's the early bird? Who's the
early bird gets the worm, eh?
Who's the early bird in your dressing room?
Just think about,
I'm thinking,
Just think. Laz, you ready?
Yeah. I'm good.
Steve, all right,
Cavalry, Cavalry, go please.
I'm good. Whoa, you guys can't wait for us.
You're the first one.
Great.
Yes, that's a match.
Just don't tell me. I got 2 names here.
Like 2 names is not good.
I gotta choose one.
Just go with one.
You gotta go with one.
Cerebral.
I asked who's the first player, not players. Okay,
I know.
Put it up, Edmonton. Let's see it.
That's not Tommy. That's not all right. Tommy, I hope you're going with this, man. I hope you're going with this. I want to believe it.
Hold on.
Kareem's nervous.
I'm good.
You good?
I can just tell, no chance.
Oh, what? They're wrong of Tommy, man. Tommy, in what world? Bro, I know we're normally in like really early for chapel, but like I've had a couple of times I've seen Connor there, and I'm like,
well, this is not good. Edmonton, you're now 2 behind, and
I'm saying, Tom,
we're going to get to the next question. So
come back, Kings.
Steve, how much longer are we playing this?
So
Got to put the
easy.
kids to bed soon.
Okay, we got to go. We'll go a couple more. Okay, first one to 6. So we got 4. Okay, what is something your coach says to you more times than you can count?
Wait, you're putting us on the spot here.
And they're watching. Jeff and Tommy are watching. I'll make them promise not to give you extra. Make the beat test extra hard on you.
He says a lot.
My mind's gone blank.
Yeah.
But Tommy has a bunch of sayings that he repeats a lot.
Come on.
All right. Something your coaches say that you've heard.
A bunch of times.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather take the citizenship test.
It's be a piece of cake after this. Are we ready?
No.
Should we let them go? Should we let them go first?
You're putting them on the spot.
Yeah. You guys go first.
Yeah, I sense a lot of nerves here. Not wanting to call your coaches out.
Okay.
Hey, Steve, on this one, can you give us 2? Like, can we say 2?
Oh, what?
No, it's one answer. One answer.
No.
Yeah.
Whew. It's like on the spotlight type stuff.
Yeah. Are we ready?
Is Edmonton going first on this one?
No, you guys.
Yo.
You guys go first.
Okay. Let's do it.
Laz, you ready?
Yeah.
Ah!
Adapting over. Ooh.
I can't see yours, Led.
Here you go. I'll put it clear there for
Adapt.
Oh,
Adapt and
that's
overcome.
pretty impressive.
That's
pretty impressive.
Well, I'll take adapt and overcome. One.
Okay.
Hey, when
Edmonton.
something's written on the wall in your locker room.
Wait, so we could just take a saying on the wall in our locker room.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's go, Edmonton.
Well, why don't you just tell Tommy or Kareem what you're writing?
Tommy, you know we're not getting this one right.
Yeah, we're not getting this, but you know what? Let's just go for it. Jeff says a lot of.
They're not getting it. They already said.
Listen. Jeff says a lot of insightful stuff. All right. It's
what's that one?
There's just a lot. It's
okay.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, let's put it up there. Let's put it up.
Just on Tommy. I'm going with this one, bro. I don't care. All right.
Okay, let's go. Let's go, Kareem. Kareem, that's been up for a while. Let's go.
Wait. Hold your ball. What did I say?
Let's see that again, Kareem.
What did I say?
Oh, I'm finished.
I love you guys.
We love you too, Kareem. We love you too. All right.
I gotta say something.
Let's quickly. I'm
the
calling
auctioneer
this.
is right around the corner, buddy.
I'm calling this, and I'm going to give the first round to Cavalry.
Wow.
So, that's where we're going to be. We're going to have to go to Cavalry there.
You don't want to do one more winner takes all.
Yo.
No, we're not doing one more winner take all.
Right.
You guys are so far behind.
Good, thanks, Tommy.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna be. So we're gonna do.
How I can get away with
So we're gonna do another game. So I know Nick, you're on a bit of a clock here. So I want to get to this other game that we have to play, and this will be a quicker one. This one, I am the total referee, and it is not going to be a right or wrong. I'm going to pick one of you for each question, and you've got to convince me. I am your referee here. So what you have to do. I'm going to ask you a question. So first, it'll be Tomi taking on Nik, and then the second question will be Kareem taking on Elijah. And I'm going to ask you questions, and you just got to convince me that your argument is better. But you can't take on the same argument. All right? So this is going to be a bit of a debate here.
So it's, wrong answer. Okay, perfect.
Okay, yeah. So we're going to ask first for Nik and Tomi. If you could pick any one professional athlete, who would you pick and why? Bring to your team. Any professional athlete.
To bring in
to Cavalry, to say like either it would inspire you guys, to bring you guys together. One athlete that you think would inspire your team. You don't have to write anything down. You can just tell me. Make your argument. Make your argument.
Hold on. You can't use that one. Everyone's watched The Last Dance, mate. Like, he's just going to recite
Well, there you go.
MJ said.
Okay,
Nah.
I'm gonna say, all right. You can't pick Jordan. You can't pick outside of Michael Jordan. Who are you picking? Okay, I'm gonna do a last dance disqualification here.
Okay. Yeah.
So just tell me. Make your argument, and then I will decide what's a better argument.
I'm gonna do LeBron James.
And why?
As far as an athlete go, I think he's an unbelievable athlete, especially at his height, his weight, how big he is, and I think he brings an unbelievable drive and passion to his sport, which his teammates thrive off of. I think he can carry, almost any athlete in that sport, and I think passion and drive would easily pass over into our sport.
Tomi, who would
you know what? I'm going to stick with the same sport, but I'm going to go for Stephen Curry. Just because he changed the game of basketball. He changed the way teams approach the game. He opened up the door for athletes who have the similar skill set as him, but weren't being given the chance. I think he was just revolutionary to the game of basketball, and it's never going to be the same because of him.
Okay, and now it's my arbitrary refereeing of your debate. Steph Curry and LeBron James have faced each other in how many finals? And who's won more when they played each other? Who's won more? Steph Curry's won more. So I'm giving that point to Tomi.
You want to write your location by your name there, Steve? Steven Sandor, Edmonton.
Yeah. All right. Kareem, Elijah.
Come on,
question.
big dog.
What is the best sports team of all time in any sport? What is the best team of all time? And why?
Don't say the Harlem Globetrotters, bro.
No.
Okay, Kareem, I'll let you go first.
Nah, you take it here, buddy.
Elijah's struggling. Elijah's struggling.
I'm not struggling. I know.
Remember, Elijah, if you do say the 1987 Edmonton Oilers, no one will hold it against you.
Who's that? Okay, for me, I'm gonna go with, and just because I'm taking this one because I've seen how you choose as a judge. You're going off success. So who I'm gonna go with are, I think they were the 70s Boston Celtics team. So when Bill Russell was playing, he won 11 championships in 13 seasons. So if we're talking success in numbers, winning 11 out of 13 championships, I think it's tough to beat that. They had Bill Russell, who ended up defining what it means to be a great team player. So they had not only a player that transcended the game of basketball, they won championships, they inspired people. I think it's tough to outclass a team like that has done everything and has the stats to back it. So I'm going with the 70s Boston Celtics team. And don't forget, Steve, 11 championships, 13 seasons.
Yeah.
Elijah, can I ask a question? Do you have an NBA guide and record book at your fingertips?
Google.
I've got my
because you know what? I don't care if those numbers are true. It's how confidently you spouted them out. It's the
Kareem,
confidence
the only
in which
answer
you
that's
showed
winning
that.
this is if you say the Hungarian soccer team.
Yo, I was actually gonna say the Celtic, Boston Celtic, but I had all the info that Elijah had, so I would have hit at a dead end. You know, who can compete with that team? You know what? I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm probably gonna lose. I'm just gonna say the Patriots because I'm a fan and I love Tom Brady, and like we won 6, and although he left, but I think they dominated when he was there, Gronk, and even the players that he had before that. But just like him as a leader, and the age that he was at, and to have your buddy just ready for performance like that, and to bring home championship when they counted him out when he was throwing in interceptions after one after next. You know, they never thought that he actually would have made it. He was too old, all that stuff, and like he actually brought the team to a championship. I mean, you gotta give the dude credit. You gotta give that whole team credit. I support them. Like that's the reason I actually watch NFL. So, and I can't beat Elijah. I'm just gonna put it out there though. But I said the Patriots.
I don't know. I think Elijah knows the rule of winning a debate is not necessarily having the right answer, but being really confident about what you do. And I was really sold on that 11 out of 13. So I'm gonna call this a tie now.
Thank you, Steve.
And now we're gonna switch it up. We're gonna go Elijah against Tomi in the next round, and we're gonna ask you guys. And maybe this is with you. If you could make one rule change in CanPL, or I guess to the game of soccer, what would the rule change be and why?
That question.
I know. I know. Right here.
Come on, boy.
I'd get rid of VAR. I think
there's no VAR in the CanPL.
I mean, but you said in soccer. You just said
okay.
You said in soccer. Hey, you corrected yourself.
I heard that.
Okay, all right. I'll allow it.
All right. I'd get rid of VAR. I think the premise behind it was good, but I think it's ruined the game of football. You see so many stoppages now, and it kills the flow of the game. And as a fan, that element of human error can work in your favor or out of your favor. And I think back to when England played, I think Germany, and Frank Lampard hit that shot. And obviously, as an England fan, I wanted that to stand as a goal. But I think moments like that define the game of football. And I think stripping those moments away, it's going to end up, the game's just going to end up like, I mean, what sport? Baseball, where fans are in the stands because there's nothing exciting, nothing to look forward to.
So mine, I mean, just in response to that point anyway, I think you have to keep VAR and you just have to make it work more efficiently. So that point, Steve, I don't agree with, because if you're just going to live for wrong moments, then what does that say about everything, right? We don't want to be wrong and be wrong because we're happy with the emotion that it creates. What I would change, though, is I would change the throw-in rule. I would just make it a kick-in, because I feel like when the ball goes out of bounds anyway, it's just a restart. And if you change that to a kick-in, you add more variety. You've even seen us this season, we've had Nico, he's had the long throw, but now if it's a kick-in instead of a throw-in, you can have set plays in your own half and the opposing half. You can try different things, and it makes the game more exciting. And the game is played with our feet.
You remember that Stoke City team? That was going to end up like.
Yeah, Rory Delap.
Rory Delap. Guys are going to be shelling the ball from 60 yards away.
Again,
what kind of rule change is that like?
And then brought up Nico Pasquale. You guys have the secret weapon with Nico Pasquale and those throw-ins, and now, like, what is Nico watching this? If you're on the stream here, like Nico. Like, I don't want to cause divisions in the Cavalry dressing room, but Nico, he's calling you out.
think
So I think I'm gonna give that one to Tomi. I'm gonna give that one.
Like, I'm just wondering, you and Tomi, what you guys got going on?
I'll be sliding him the citizenship test after.
Come on, Kareem.
Okay. We're gonna ask the final. The next question will be the last one, and it's a doozy because it's actually kind of an. You know what? If you both pick the same player, because I'm going to try to lead you to do that, I'm okay with it. Just make the better argument.
Oh.
Who's the best player right now in CONCACAF and why?
I'm glad I didn't get that.
Who's the best? Sorry, say that again, Steve.
Who's the best player from CONCACAF right now and why? So the best player from the North America, Caribbean, Central America.
The leagues or
no, like who's from here? Places like would be a national teamer.
Okay. Just go with someone real quick.
The best.
Kareem, you want me to go first on this one?
Yeah, buddy. Take the lead on this one.
I'm gonna have to go support the Canadian boy Alphonso Davies. I think right now, to date, he's being talked about more than any other North American player around the world. And he's being built up as the best left back globally right now with his potential, his speed, his power, and the way Bayern Munich are utilizing all those strengths right now. For me, he's easily the best player in North America right now, and one that has probably the most potential in North America.
Pulling on
if not globally as a left back.
You got to go with Davies. Yeah, you got to go with him as the best. As he's a young kid. Just his history, background, where he came from, to stay grounded and stay committed and have the passion and the drive, even though you have so much obstacles in your way, whether it's family, whatever, just financially in your way, and for him to look past that and overcome that and live his dream and put Canada on his back the way he does every time he puts on that shirt is remarkable for that kid, for a young kid like that to take on a big nation, a big country like this, and to do it every day, every week for Bayern Munich, and every time he gets a chance to play for Canada is 100%. We have to go with him hands down.
Preach it, bro. Keep preaching. Keep going. Preach it.
So, I appreciate because all the arguments are correct. We know that. Like, this is why this is kind of a toss up. This is what we call a softball, where I threw that one up for you because there was really only one right answer. Because you both got the right answer, we're going to call that question a tie. We're going to give that a tie. But that would actually give FC Edmonton the edge here in this round. And so you each get a round going to the coaches. So right now, each of the coaches are going to be the ones who are going to decide.
Let's go, Jeff. Let's go, Jeff.
All right. So now it's up to Jeff and Tommy. And I got to tell you, Tomi, I'm going to tell you right now, I've got something truly terrible planned for the coaches. You guys can sit and watch. It's way worse than a citizenship test. I will tell you that. It is way worse than a citizenship test. So we'll get to that pretty quickly here, because we're gonna move on to the next part of our evening. But first, I'm just gonna go check on to the. We're gonna bring Jeff and Tommy back in here. As I mentioned, gentlemen, it's tied. The game is tied between the two clubs.
It's almost as if you played it that way, Steve.
Me? Come on. I said I would be totally fair. I am not sure. You watched your players perform. I'm not sure about I love you guys, Jeff, as being your message going out there to your players.
Hey, but there you go. No, I love Trini, bro. So Trini was right. I say it to him all the time, I think.
All right. Well, that's good. Well,
but, Steven, just a quick comment though. You had a choice of many different pens, and I noticed that you chose a red one. So are you the Kurt Larson of this interview?
I am an editor. I edit.
right.
I only have red pens. I don't. It's because I'm editing stuff all the time, and that's what I have.
Fair
So that's what I have. I mean, if you're gonna pick on the ink, look. There's no regalia out there. I have had stuff from both teams last year, but I will not display that. I'm trying to be the fair arbiter. I'm already in the hole to start off with from where I am. And don't think, if you're from the Foot Soldiers, don't think I've forgotten how you guys heckled me after one game at Spruce Meadows. That was great. And trying to do a post-game stand-up, and they were heckling and chanting, so giving me a hard time. That was wonderful.
Try to have time.
So here we are, gentlemen. We're going to play. This is for all the marbles. This is for the bragging rights.
It better not be about politics, because Jeff seriously outrageous. If you follow his Twitter account, it's more politics than it is football. So
No, it's
politics or animal abuse. I'm winning it.
Okay. No, it is what you're probably dreading. It's a spelling bee. It's a Canadian / soccer themed spelling bee, and there's going to be some soccer words, names, and Canadian terms. And so we're going to see how well we can do in the spelling bee. We're going to start this off with Tommy.
Good.
We start off with the easy ones. Can you give me a Canadian term for the knitted cap? Is a toque. How do you spell the word toque?
You're internet searching it, Tommy.
No. Am I writing it down like the last one? Or?
You're internet searching it right now. On your table.
Rules of the game. Am I writing this, or am I?
No, you spell it. You're gonna spell it like a spelling bee.
Toque.
Toque.
Touque.
That is incorrect. There's actually two spellings of toque. The correct Canadian spelling is Tuque, but the American spelling and the one that's more commonly used is Toque. I know this because I edit stuff and my head is in style guides all the time. So if you didn't know that out there, folks, the actual Canadian spelling of toque is Tuque, and it's considered an Americanized form to spell Toque. But Tommy, I have to say, you had neither.
Well, yeah.
You had neither. And you threw an extra U in there. So
I was where you were, so
yeah, the extra U. But Jeff, so now to take the first round, Jeff, you just got to spell this word correctly. Something we love in the winter, a toboggan. Spell the word toboggan.
Double G's.
It's Tommy's doing the throw off.
Looks like you've been having a few doubles as well. So
this Tommy's like the keeper staring down the penalty taker here, trying to throw him off.
just put them all in together like I did.
Exactly. Toboggan.
Oh, Jeff with the goal. And Jeff takes round one in the official El Clasico score sheet. The Eddies take the first round. So there we go. It's not going to get easier. That was actually
that was the warm up. Oh my god.
So Jeff, we're going to start with you round two. We're going to see how well you know the names of players on the other team, on the other side. So I want you. There's a keeper at Cavalry. Has a bit of a long name. His first name is Nico. And Nico, if you're watching, you're no helping here. Can you spell Giantsopolis?
Gian SOU no S SO
P L
US
LP
IAN SO POULOS.
No.
I think you missed the T right off the stop, right? Because it was GIANS.
Yeah, he missed the T.
You missed the T. I'm sorry, Jeff. That's Now, well, Tommy, before you start counting your chickens, Vlado Sagai.
Oh my goodness. That's a sneaky one with so many hidden letters, isn't it? It's
Oh, they're not hidden. They're silent, but they're not hidden.
The lad's a bit quick, so it's hard to read his jersey. Velado, VELADO dash TSGEYE.
No.
Nope. TSEGAYE. And so we're going to that's a wash. So Jeff's still in the lead. We both missed the penalties in that round. So we have 2 X's on Tommy, a check mark and an X for Jeff. Oh.
My apologies, Nico, by the way. I didn't mean to get your name wrong.
Yeah. It's okay. So we start off here again with Tommy. This might be a one that because of the English background that I'm kind of throwing you maybe a little bit easier. Worcestershire.
Oh.
Like the sauce. Worcestershire. We're
Worcestershire. See, that's always mispronounced.
Yeah.
Worcestershire. So it's
okay.
W-O-R.
I've been corrected.
E-S-T-E-R Shire S-H-I-R-E. Worcestershire.
All right. Jeff, you're gonna have to match him. Since we're talking, it's a pub night, we have to talk a little bit about beer.
Which, by the way, just out of unity, look at that, Jeff. See?
That one.
Jack Rabbit.
What is it? I can't see it. You want cheers? Well, cheers.
There we go.
There you are.
Okay,
Cheers.
Jeff, we're gonna see how well your German is because a lot of people like a Hefeweizen. Do you know how to spell Hefeweizen?
No, I don't drink Hefeweizen. Guinness.
I'd almost give you a bonus point, maybe at the end, but right now, no. So now we're tied.
Yeah.
I have to say no. Now it's going to get fun. Now it's going to get totally fun. Jeff, we're going to see your knowledge of soccer clubs around the world. And I actually suggested some, and they said it was too terrible because I was just going to throw Polish and Hungarian team names at you and just do that until and then I thought, it's too terrible.
Ferencváros.
Yeah. Your pronunciation wasn't so bad. There's actually probably a Ferencváros scarf behind me somewhere. The longtime Turkish giants, Jeff.
Ooh.
Fenerbahce. How do you spell Fenerbahce? Team that's long time, usually in the Champions League.
Fenebache.
No, Fener, and there's that terrible H, but it's Bahce.
Yeah.
So no, but now before you say, Bundesliga is back.
Oh my God!
So I'm not going to ask you to spell Borussia. You should be able to spell Borussia. But can you spell Mönchengladbach?
Oh my goodness, Mönchengladbach. Mönchengladbach.
That's the German spelling, and I'll take that with the O with the umlaut on it. You could also go with OE if you want to go with the anglicized version. But Tommy take the lead. All right, Jeff. To draw even. This is your last penalty to bring this even. Because I really want to go to the bonus round and do it to you. Kananaskis. So we're going to talk about places in Alberta. Kananaskis.
Is that southern Alberta?
It's a beautiful part of the province.
I don't travel to southern Alberta a lot. 3 times a year.
And you never leave me.
Kanas. No, Ka. Jesus. Nah, I have no idea. Pass. I can't get it.
Oh, Jeff.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
I can
Tommy,
spell facts.
since we're gonna ask you about a place just outside of Edmonton. We're not gonna ask you to spell Fort. We know how you spell Fort. Can you spell Fort, Saskatchewan? Saskatchewan.
Oh, goodness. I've just gone through the provinces with my son and his humanities. Oh my goodness.
Tomi, if you're still watching, this might be on the citizenship test.
Yeah, this is a good one for your citizenship test, which I had to rest for. Break it up, right? SAS, KAT, CHEWAN, Saskatchewan.
Oh, I'm gonna have to through this round of spelling penalties. This final round, it looks like Cavalry has nipped this one, and we're.
It was like our game. You had me on the back heels, Jeff.
Yeah. I was going to ask you guys, and I won't now. I was hoping that we get to the final, the bonus round, because I was going to ask you how to spell Wojciech Szczesny's name, but no, we're not going to do that. Won't do that to you. So we're going to move now to the final part of the evening, and that's going to be to answer some fan questions that were submitted for both of you. And we will just, if you just bear with me as I move to the questions for coaches. And some are for both, some are for, and this first one is for both of you. It's from Cooper in Calgary. What are the most important traits that you look for in a player before signing them? Is it just simply skill, or do you looking for other traits as well? When you get those videos sent to your inbox of players, what's the traits you look for first?
You want to go, Jeff?
Yeah, you know what? We, obviously have an idea of what you want to create in the dressing room, and I think that's a big part of it, and Cavalry is a great example of that team chemistry, and what that can give you, on the pitch, certainly. So I think that, you expect that every player you look at, for your team these days are going to be good players. And, but they've got to fit what you're trying to do, and they obviously have to fit a positional need. But for us, we retained 15 players from last year's roster. So one of the big priorities for me this year is would these players be a fit in our locker room? Would they fit with the other lads? Would they lend to the chemistry of the locker room going forward? I think that's very important. And, we talk a lot about analytics and all these different things, but some of these other soft skills and some of these other the pieces that you can't analyze, what's the player's mentality like, and who are they? How will they handle adversity? How will they adapt and overcome, Tommy? And but that's what you're looking for, and that's what. So that's the intangible for me that makes a difference.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we're fortunate in the job we had. We essentially got to be fantasy football managers, where it was a blank roster, budget to spend, and you build it with your ideals. You find your ideals on what you want to see, and I always try and see things as a fan. What would I want to watch? I want to be exciting. I want to be competitive. I want the players to leave there and the fans have gone, wow, that was enjoyable. They got them off their seats, but they also left there going, you know what? Whether we win, lose, or draw, we literally leave everything on the dance floor, and I think that's the type of thing we have at Spruce Meadows, the type of environment we have within the Cavalry, that every single player that comes through, this is, it was born as a working man sport. I think we have to honor those inceptions. So that's the first and foremost. Are they going to give everything they got? Because the talent, we get so many YouTube things, we get so many players. I mean, every single coach in this league gets hundreds and hundreds, and agents contact, and I've got this player and that player. But beyond that, then you've got to be good people. So a lot of the recruitment we've done, once we've gone through our Instat and our things, is a rule of three, where we get 3 good reference points and a face-to-face. And it's like any type of interview. Do they give you a good first impression? And do they talk more about money, or do they talk more about opportunity? Because if it's the former, the conversation's over, because we're not making them rich at this point of the league. But if it's about opportunity and leaving a blazing trail, they'll do for me.
Excellent. Excellent. So there's an answer there. A lot of intangibles are really important. And I think that's the message that you're hearing about what it takes to play and be a professional. The next question is I'm going to throw this out to Tommy, because it's a question specific about Spruce Meadows. It's from Alan in Calgary. What changes or improvements have been made to the Atco field this spring. Hopefully we get a chance to play on it at some point this spring, and for me to visit again. But what changes can people expect to see there?
Well, I think what we've seen last year is we had a really good start to the season, but we know we're like most grounds in this league. We're a multi-sport venue. Our owners, the Southern family, had built a world-class equestrian venue, and then wanted to do the same for football in this country. And to do that, we know there's going to be growing pains. I always think back to the one floodlight against Montreal Impact. I think we got 2 by the time you turned up, Jeff. But we know that these were teething pains. So for us, we literally took the off season and bumped into Jeff before we went to Italy, right? We went to, for us, we went to Scotland to see Ross County, who are a club of a similar size, 6,000 fans, deal with inclement weather. We went across to Barnet, who are a 6,000 seat stadium. A lot of international teams go there. We went to Fulham's ground because, like Craven Cottage, there's a history to it. And what we did was it was a research trip, and we tried to ask the right questions. How do you deal with this inclement weather? How do you deal with multi-use? So when we've come back now, we've got a sod farm. So there's patches in the corner that got affected by the frost because of the shadow that we never foreseen. So we're changing now. There were some undulations from where water fountains used to sit like 6 months prior that we're trying to fill in. And because Spruce Meadows is a world-class organization, we want a world-class field. So it's going to take its time, and we've started our grounds crew already. From the players actually helped bring the tarps off, with the social distancing, and we've started work already to flatten the curve on the pitch.
Okay. The next question is Mike from Canmore, and he asks. Now I'm going to say that if you're on a road trip, I'm not going to put you on the spot and not put you with your clubs, but if you could coach in any potential CanPL market in Canada that doesn't currently have a team, where would you want to go? So let's say I'm going to say that you're on a road trip. Where would you want to go?
So, right now, Kelowna. Yeah, Kelowna. Unless I was single, then St. John's, Newfoundland. But right now, Kelowna.
I don't know if you'd make it back from a Halifax St. John's road trip alive. Would it be okay?
Yeah. Well done, George Street.
Kelowna would be a great one, wouldn't it? We got a place in Sicamous that we spend a lot of time with, so I'd be inclined to get up there. I think I really like the Maritimes. I like PEI, I like Newfoundland. I think it's important to keep putting out that way. It's always a nice visit when we go to Halifax. It's just a different part of Canada, and there's something about the ocean. So I think I'd pick something like that, like PEI.
Yeah,
it's a gorgeous part of the country. My wife and I got married in PEI, so it's a special place to me. And it's a if anyone's
I thought you were adding points for this, so I just played to the crowd.
Yeah, there you go. So if you're watching, if you're watching from Prince Edward Island, let it be known we recognize it's a gorgeous part of the country.
Yeah, my first wife, I got married in Nova Scotia.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Question now for Tommy. Have you ever thought about joining the cast of Peaky Blinders?
Do you know what? As you know, a lot of my fashion, a lot of my wardrobe was inspired by it. I think it's a fantastic show, but it also shows, for me, it takes you back to an era where men dressed up, women dressed up. They took care of how they looked, and I think I come from a youth soccer background where I was forever in a tracksuit. And I thought, with this league coming out, it was important to our league, and I wanted to give it the respect it needed. And it just so happened that when Peaky Blinders came on, and it speaks to my heart of the good parts of England. And you've seen it with the English game now, very, very similar. David Beckham, he's a good dresser. Brad Pitt, good dressers. And I thought, you know what? I wanted to respect the game. I wanted to bring that little bit of class, and that's where a lot of it is. So if there's an opportunity to be an extra in it, I'd be up for that.
All right, you're not here to terrorize the city of Birmingham, though, right?
Yeah. No.
And Jeff, if there's ever a Breaking Bad prequel show or another Breaking Bad part of the franchise, and let's say Bryan Cranston's busy, let's say Bryan Cranston can't do it, and they have to bring in another Walter White, would you take on that role?
No, listen, I'm there. I'll keep growing my beard. Put me in Sons of Anarchy. Honestly, any of those, yeah.
Is that a good show? I've yet to get into that one. I see it's on Netflix. Is that good?
Anarchy? Oh, you got to watch that. Yeah, what a good series.
Okay.
By the way, Tommy, I have to compliment you on that wine cellar.
Yeah. It's our sports bar. Actually, it's funny because to the right over here, if I could show you, the lights are off. That's where all my Zoom sessions have been in this COVID crisis. So I got the sports bar here, the TV area over there, and the little.
I'd like to actually commend you both for not sitting in front of bookcases, because it seems that's the thing that everyone always does. Like, look at how well and smart I am. I'm going to sit in front of a bookcase. I'm going to show off my books.
That's it. No chance.
All right. Here's a question from Mike from Calgary. On a global level, who from a coaching, player, or club perspective currently inspires you or has an impact on you? So is there someone, a club or a coach or a style of play or a player that really has an impact and say that's something I'd love to do here?
For me, it's funny because I'm an Everton fan, so I talk about this honestly. I think Alex Ferguson, for what he did at Manchester United, everyone thinks back to he created a legacy, for Manchester United. And I think being an Everton fan and I was there when we beat them in the 95 FA Cup, our last silverware. That's how long it was. But he created every single year they were always competing for something. I just listened to a great podcast with Rio Ferdinand, a high performance one. And he just talked about what it meant to be part of Manchester United. So I think for me, a heavy influence, as much as I love the club I support, I've always admired what he did for a football club. And, when you read his biographies or and you look at, the ones where it talks about his managing or his leading ones, and he just from top to bottom, he had manners to how he treated the tea lady and the kit man, to how he managed up with the owners in the boardroom, to how every single senior player coming through, so the Steve Bruces and the Gary Palaces, then were able to bring through the Roy Keanes next and the Ryan Giggses and the David Beckhams of Scott. And there's just this influx. So I think for any of us, and for me in particular, I want to be able to leave the Cavalry in a place when I retire bigger than what it was when I got handed the keys. So I think for him, 100%, he's probably been the biggest one that I would admire.
Yeah, and I think people sometimes forget too about, a lot of talk about Manchester United, but the job that he did with Aberdeen to turn them, from in Scotland before going to United. And I had a chance to meet him once, and he is very gracious. They were doing a friendly in Toronto, and he actually made time. There were people who contacted him because he spent a lot of time in Ontario growing up, and people had contacted me to sort of ask him, and it was sort of uncomfortable, like old friends, and he made all sorts of time for them, saying, yes, I remember these people. And even though he was the big manager of Man United, he made time for the people that he grew up with and made sure that he spent some time with them. Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few, that really. I mean, obviously Jurgen Klopp, and I'm a Liverpool supporter, but just his passion for not just the game of football, his passion for life and his belief. And this is a man that will say, what he feels and what he believes, and he's not worried about insulting anybody. At the end of the day, he's going to say what he says, and he's always going to stick by it. I think he's got a very strong moral code. So he's someone that obviously I value. But when I look in world football, Pep's an easy one because we've all grown up watching Barcelona and whatnot. Pep's easy, but when I say Pep, it's not because he's won. It's not because he's obviously coached very special players. But someone like Pep, I look at Pep the same way I look at like a Nagelsmann. Julian Nagelsmann, another one, 32 years old. I mean, I'm 50 years old. But I look at a 32-year-old manager that is willing to change the game of football. He's willing to change the rules and do what he wants to do, and combine technology with tactics and analysis. So I actually look back to a 32-year-old that's brave enough to be himself, and also another player that never really had a pro career. Obviously injury kept him away from the pro game, at the highest level. So I look at that as someone that also didn't play professionally, and just kind of worked his way through. So I have an inspiration even in the younger ones. I mean, age it is what it is. I'm not bothered the fact that I'm 18 years this guy's senior, and I feel that I can't respect him because he's a young kid. But these are the ones. Thomas Tuchel is another one that I think that they changed the way we see football. The name, it's terrible. The name slips me, but this is what Jailer will do to you. But Sheffield United, Tommy, the manager,
Chris Wilder.
I mean, innovator, an absolute innovator. He does things with players that with central defenders. You know what I mean? I love these guys, and I want to be. I want to try and be a bit more like that, if I can ever get to that point. So yeah, there's a few for me.
Okay, great. And there's a question from Karen in Calgary. For both of you, we know that some of the teams have been given the green light to start training again. For you guys, is there any sort of training updates? Or all your players close by? Are they in the respective cities? If you get the green light to train, how quickly can you get out onto the pitch?
Yeah, we've got everything ready to go. We're just waiting on Alberta Health Services, and we have to respect our provincial borders. I mean, the league's been great in saying, look, everybody respect their provinces and their guidance, and then the local city or municipality you're in, and that's where we're at. We have all the preparations as a club in place for the hygiene kits, the small group training, because that's what's at, right? It's groups of 4 coming in, and they all have a quarter of a pitch. But I think being back after 12 weeks of being away, that'll be great to be together. So I think we're days away, to be honest. We're hoping that we get the green light tomorrow or over the weekend, and we can start next week. And then we just go from there, really. Just get the guys back in and start training.
Yeah, that's my understanding, Tommy. That all the paperwork I've seen, and I will say that the CPL has actually done a great job in reaching out and working with our provincial health authority to make this happen for us. So I would expect us. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that we're kicking the ball on our fields, Monday, Tuesday.
That beep test for everyone, right, coaches?
Well, that's the other thing now, right? And we're learning from the Bundesliga and from I'm sure as the Premier League comes back, we've got to manage the players coming back in. So we all have that tendency to want to do more, but we got to bring them in and look after them to get to the shape we need them to be in to put on a show.
Okay. Yeah. Question in for Tommy, and it's from Stuart, who calls himself the Godfather. So he says, "Are we ever going to see a team from England brought over for a friendly against the Cavs?"
Yes, I think so. I think it's in the future. I mean, you got to look at the road to the 2026 World Cup means many things. It's going to build the infrastructure of Canadian football from coast to coast. It's going to build the staffing, the administration, officials, journalism, everything, the whole gambit. With that comes, some other things that happen. So for us to keep building how to host world-class games like we did for the 2015 Women's World Cup, we've got to start bringing some teams across to play. I know it was Leicester City came across to you? Who came across? Was it QPR or?
Yeah, we had QPR.
Cardiff came across, didn't they?
Sorry, yeah.
Cardiff. No, and for us, what we would like, and it's something probably the league has, they're years ahead in advance. That why not be a week break, a bit like the MLS All-Star event where a team comes across from Europe to play. You'll notice a lot of pre-seasons now coming across, and it might be to the point where in each of the host cities you play against the big European club. But it's definitely something that we as a club and our ownership group are on board with. We would like to be in a position to do that because, that allows us to have some world-class players come grace us, and it grows the game even more. So, yes, we would like to do it, and yes, it's part of the vision of our football club.
And Jeff, what about you? Do you see FC Edmonton playing friendlies down the road?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. We want to, certainly. And, some of our best preseason experiences where we went overseas, and had a preseason in Manchester and a preseason in Scotland. So, I just think it gives your players a different experience, doesn't it? Than hearing you're playing universities or you're really struggling. Even this year, we were really struggling to get preseason games, I have to tell you, and outside of trying to play, obviously Cavalry would be a great preseason game for us. Valor would be a great preseason game, but outside of that, where do you get them, for your players? And so yeah, I think it's important. If it's going to grow the game here, it's going to create interest for all of us if we start bringing over, decent level teams from Europe to play us. It just increases our exposure.
Okay, here's a question. It comes from Madrid. So this is one coming from overseas. And it's asked, are you looking for players who are maybe players who are falling out of bigger leagues that could see a bigger role playing in CanPL? Or are you mainly looking more for guys maybe from smaller leagues when you're looking at international players that might need an opportunity to step up and perform at a higher level? Which do you think that would be?
I think in year 1 and year 2, it was important to get a bit of experience in there, and we did that with Malonga and Julian Boucher, Oliver Minitel. Where these guys had pedigree to support some of the young Canadians as we're coming through. I think now as we're shifting through the clubs, the league's strategic alliance with Club 21, which is bringing through some younger players, and we've signed that with young Richard Luca, who we think is very, very exciting. Eric Zetterberg is someone the FC Edmonton signed that I think is a very good player as well. That I think these are talented players that perhaps a bit like Jordan Brown and Nathan Mavilla that, came through great clubs. Like Jordan Brown was playing for Arsenal and West Ham coming through, played in the Europa Cup. And then in football, you cast aside, new manager comes in and you end up at Hanover 96. New manager comes in again and he was forever chopping and changing before we brought him at 22, 23, and he's still learning. So I think there's a really good market for those young, promising players that may have had, just a little bit of a rejection. And I talked about Marco Carducci and Zator and Elijah Adekugbe having that bit of, rejection or suffering. I think the same market there. We need to bring talent here because I think the younger as a young league and the more exciting it is, the more chance we have for them to grow with us as well. But still with that, you need some old heads, and Nik Ledgerwood and Mason Trafford, Jay Wheeldon for us this year still provide those old heads around the locker room and to allow the young players to grow.
Yeah, I agree with Tommy there. You look at, in Germany, for example, and their U23 teams that they run, in the first Bundesliga will run their U23 sides, and there'll be some players that are on the fringes, of playing, in the first Bundesliga. And for whatever reason, their first team manager brings in an international player in that position that this young guy plays in, so that player won't get a chance there. These are the players I think that we can target, and these are the players on the fringes of top level football. And so we will look for those players. Obviously, I agree with Tommy. Obviously, that this 21st club is going to be, it's going to be an asset in helping us source out, some of these players that just haven't broken through at the highest level of the game, but certainly have the qualities that we're looking for in our league. And it'll be young and exciting. Again, Tommy mentioned two right there, Richard Luca and Eric Zetterberg are two good young players that we both feel very good about, bringing into our sides. So, yeah, of course we have to do that. And, and I think when you're looking at players that come through these top clubs, and if they're coming through, Premier League academies, of course, these are players we want, because the percentage of making it to the top team is so low. But we're talking quality players. But there's a lot of quality players that just don't make it, at the highest level. These are ones we should be targeting because they're going to come here. They're going to get good minutes, expose themselves, and again, open up other opportunities and doors for them.
And a great lifestyle, Jeff. I'm speaking as somebody that came across here as a similar player, about 23, and I thought my time in the pro game was done. I went back to university, and it's almost like the youth sports drafts that we deal with. I came out here for a different lifestyle, and I loved the football. I thought it was a lot better than I would have given it credit for. I thought the Canadians I played alongside back in the day, and we weren't the best side in there, but were very technical, very athletic, and just put everything they had in it. And and then you realize that everything that Canada has, it's a great lifestyle. So I think there's lots that we can bring here, and it'll only grow better. And I think when we get people like Alfonso Davis and Jonathan David out there now that are giving us a great look, people are going to be more interested. And look, if we can get to a point in this season and get some games off and running and play in that gap of the window where nobody else is playing, imagine the opportunity like the Bundesliga have had. So I think there's great opportunities here.
I love it. Your dad shared that bicycle with Kurt Bosch.
Oh yeah.
You would take that goal in any league anywhere. You know what I mean? That was how many years ago playing in Canada?
2002. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, we have two more questions, and they're both from Edmonton. We've done a lot of Calgary questions, So the first ones are both coaches. Which player on your opposing teams worried you the most in build up to matches? Now I know it's a bit of a spot, or maybe this year, maybe a new signing that worries you from the other side that you think we're going to have to develop something for?
I think it's an easy one for me because it was the player we let go, Easton Ongaro. So you always think, is that the player that's going to come back and haunt you? And he scored the only goal last year, and credit to him, he just kept on going. He's a great kid. I think we've spoke about this before. Jeff and I had several great conversations about him, and ended up doing what was right for the kid. Terrific that he's doing, but now I have the fear of God thinking, just don't come back to haunt me, because then that's on me. It is the manager. I have to make decisions. I made a decision because I felt we were strong where we are, and Jeff wanted to bring him to his home city, and we allowed it happen. But he'd be one that I'm like, just come back to haunt us.
Yeah, and before I get into mine, I just want to add in, I mean, the way that Tommy handled that, is just with the utmost class. I have to tell you, Tommy could have kept him there. They had other opportunities, but he allowed this young player a chance to become a professional footballer. And so I respect that, that Tommy did that. And I can tell you Easton respects that, and he talks about it to this day. So, yeah, I mean, it's good on you, Tommy. And more people need to hear that story because you really stood up for a young Canadian player there. So I appreciate it, and I know Easton does in his family. So well done to you. And for me, listen, there's a lot of threats and a lot of players that you could signal out, but I always go back to the one that got away. I guess, and Nik Ledgerwood, and Nik beat you with his tenacity. And he beat you with his mind, and that's what I love about Nik Ledgerwood. I mean, this is a warrior, and and I listened to the One Soccer guys talk about, who's this player, and the fact that Nik Ledgerwood is not in those conversations, to me, just shows a real, I don't know, I don't want to insult the One Soccer guys, but how do you not pay attention to a player like this that with a tackle, right, with a tackle. Or with getting in the face of a player that's made a tackle on one of his teammates can change a game because he lifts the emotions of a team. And Nik Ledgerwood for me is that player that I was worried about the most, because I thought that player, no matter how well we were playing, could actually do something in a game and not beat a player 1v1. Nik's not going to do that now at this point. But he has so many intangibles of football that you want in a footballer that. He's just vital. For me, he was just such a vital piece for Cavalry and what they do and what they do on the pitch. And yeah, this is a player that needs so much more respect in this league. Definitely by the One Soccer crew. I mean, they got to pay attention to this guy. I have to tell you.
I'm just going to go back and say, recalling, I think go back a couple of years, and while it was a unsuccessful World Cup qualifying campaign, Canada's final game against El Salvador, when he was absolutely dominant on the pitch.
I was at that game. That was the one in Vancouver?
Yes. The one where meanwhile Mexico and Honduras were playing to an awfully convenient 0-0 draw. With less said about that, the better. But that game, Nik emotionally, leadership-wise, scoring, but not just that, just all over the pitch throughout his time. He was the man of the match in that game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he is. He's like the Roy Keane of the CPL. He really is, because he's the same in training. If he's there and you're going to play, he's going to play to win, and he'll be at you, and you've got to play up at his level. Otherwise, you'll get called out or you'll get challenged. But in saying that, again, when you talk about building a league and building things, I've known Nik because he was 17 when I came to play for the Calgary Storm, and he left to go to Germany. We kept in touch. When he was at Edmonton, I came up to a few games and watched. And when Edmonton had the dark year, I think the first conversation I had to you, Jeff, I said, look, I don't know what's happening here, but if he wants to stay, because he was at that, like he talked about in his show, he's in that in between. Does he go back overseas for a year, dark year? And there was rumors of the CPL, and we weren't at the table just yet, but we had started to hear those ways, and we just said, look, I can keep you fit. And I talked to Jeff. I said, look, let's get him involved in coaching, because I think he'll be a terrific leader. And Jeff was like, obviously you know him. He said, but you have our blessing, because we're not doing anything. Right now we're going dark until we understand what's going on. So like I said, there's been many a player that Jeff and I have gone back and forth on, and we've not signed or gone back for. But I think we always try and do what's right for the game, and we're also honest with each other. And I think that's hard in the game. There's sometimes there can be some deceit about going back and forth, but I think I think why the rivalry is good is it's almost sibling rivalry, because my brother plays for me. I used to hate it when he'd beat me at Pro Evolution on the PlayStation. Still do now. I can't even touch him. He's that much better than me on that, or at ping pong. It infuriates me. But I love him dearly. And, it's the same here. I've got the utmost respect for Jeff, Sean Fleming, who I work for at Canada Under-17s. But I tell you, when they come down, they're blue. I want to beat them. I want to give them my best effort, and I know it's the same for them. So that's where you know that. But beyond this, we're all working in the same path. We're trying to make Canada good.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, the final question, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. It comes from Carl from Edmonton. What are some of the changes that you're going to make to your approach this season compared to last season? And of course, Tommy's listening intently. Get the notebook out.
I couldn't. I'm going to write down.
Hey, that's it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I thought that we've got a very good core, and it's always, listen, I have to tell you, this is a difficult question for me to always answer, because what it does is it actually makes it look like the players that are not at FC Edmonton anymore were the problem, and I want to make sure that's not the case, because we've got two very good players that have moved on. Obviously, Bruno down to Tommy to play for Cavalry, and Ajay Cabra is another one that's moved on and now will play for Ottawa. And these are two, very good, Edmonton players that are going to do well in this league for a long, long time. And circumstances prevented me from being able to re-sign both of them. And so when I go into what my changes are, please understand that it's not at the, it's not like we've gotten rid of bad players and we're improving that, because that's not the case. So that's why I'm always really, unsure about these answers. But what I will say though is just on the offensive side, the way that I want to play football and the way that FC Edmonton is going to look this year, I needed players like Hanson Boakai, Kevin Alman, Raul Tito. These are the type of players I needed to have basically, number 10s I could play underneath a target striker, and really play in the half channel players, and players that can get on the ball and can cause a team a problem on their own. And I think last year, maybe that's one of the areas that we might have been just maybe missing, were those kind of difference makers, like the Borges type that can beat a player 1v1, Bustos, obviously, Tommy's got a couple that 1v1 are good players, Escalante, as much as, obviously as an opposition manager, drives me absolutely insane. But as a player that's effective in his 1v1 ability and his ability to attack. Nico Pasquale is another one, So I think how we're going to be different is that, number one, we've kept our defensive core. I think we've kept our defensive strength. And I think that most managers in this league would say that we were a difficult team to score against and create chances against. We kept teams to the outside fairly well. We'll improve that this year, the way we're going to play. But we've added a bit of offensive flair in these special offensive players. I mean, Hanson Boakai is a player that before he left Canada still does have very special 1v1 skills. And I think this is the difference. And I think this is something that maybe we needed to add, and I think we did. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll be a team that will be still very difficult to play against and break down. But we'll add much more to the offensive side of the game with some. And Kevin Alman, I mean, we forget about him, but this is a quality player. I mean, we talked about Kevin Alman long before we talked about Borges, Bustos. He was their predecessor, and he really was that one player coming out of Canada, certainly at U17 level, that was that different Canadian player that we didn't have in the country. So, obviously he comes here with some high expectations from us as a club. So I think that's how we're different, how we'll be different.
All right. So I guess, no secrets because you guys know each other so well. But I guess both of you can tell each other that you'll both be parking the bus, right? That's what you'll be doing.
I think for us, more of the same. I mean, we won more than we lost. We, we were on the wrong side of a bit of magic in the finals, but that doesn't mean that we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We had a great cup run. We had a great fall and summer season. And I think for us, we're evolving. I think we're a little younger, because we've got Elliot Simmons, who I thought had a really good season for Halifax coming in. Bruno Zebi, he's so consistent in multiple positions, which I think you need in this league. I think fans are going to be excited with Jair Cordova. He's a natural goal scorer. He's a very good goal scorer. He's kind of got that Suarez type way about him that I think is exactly what we need, a killer in the box. Richard Luca, I think, is another exciting signing. But, from there, I think we're just keeping a core together. And I think anytime, like I said about Ferguson, you keep a core together and you'll always move some out and you'll always bring some in to freshen up the locker room. And for us, we're not going to change too much. We know how we want to play. We want to be consistent, and we want to always compete for the silverware, and that's what we want to bring again this year.
Excellent. Well, I'd like to thank you both, and I'd like to thank our players for joining us earlier tonight, and thank the coaches. Thanks to Tommy. Thanks to Jeff. Thanks to the viewers for joining us tonight and having fun along with both clubs. And gentlemen, as much as I like looking at your wine cellars and basements and rec rooms, I would much rather see you on the pitch or on the touch lines, pre-game talks, trying to get information out of you on how you're going to play that day. So while I enjoy this environment very much, I really hope that soon it'll be at the stadiums again, and that we'll be talking to players in uniform on the pitch and watching you guys go at it for 90 minutes.
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah. And to all the fans out there, we feel for you. We're there, the players are there, the staff there, the owners are there. We've all invested time and money into this, and we've got to stick through this. Even as we've seen with things that are going on down south, it's together how we move forward. I think Adidas said it well, and whether it's league or whether it's racial equality, it's together how we move forward. And I think that speaks to the power of this league and the people within it. So let's keep putting the best foot forward.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well said. Well said. I really appreciate it. If somebody wants to tell me where Kananaskis is, maybe I'll tell it, and we'll go from there. But no, great. Thank you. Thank you, and hope everyone's families are doing well, staying safe. So
we're all doing great, and I hope that everyone out there stays safe as well, and stays healthy, and gets ready to, as I said, be in the stadiums, cheering against each other. Playing against each other. We'd like to get back to the red side and the blue side of the stadium and putting it out there on the pitch.
No. Hey, and I'm wearing a mask for you, so wear a mask for me. There you go.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great night. Everyone out there, thanks for joining us, and have a good night. It's been the El Clasico Pub Night, and thanks for watching.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.